There's okay, good. You want to sum yeah. You can't print because it's not a printer, it's a letterpress. I think Mom has seen that. Yeah, just doesn't. I just because the trademark is in Roman numerals. Yeah, right. In my house. By the way, you are now. They're live. Okay. Folks are not the same. Yes, I know. Our house is. Sorry. The timbers. Mr. Benson, Dave.
You ready?
I gotta go.
Are you ready? Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the New Sham Town Council hybrid meeting for Wednesday, March 16th, 2022. 6:30 p.m. Town of New Sham Town Council is hosting a hybrid meeting in person and via Zoom telecommunications pursuant to State of Rhode Island Executive Order 2020 dated February 18th, 2022 as amended. We don't have enough bandwidth to support a video link for members of the general public. So to participate, quote, raise your hand on your phone by pressing *9 and mute and unmute by pressing *6. To see supporting documents for the agenda, it's up on the New Sham Clerk Space site. And if you'd like to watch via YouTube, you can watch on the YouTube New Sham channel. I'll call this meeting to order at 6:33 p.m. One item on the agenda at 6:30 is discuss and act on a request for indemnification from the Comrade Cove Association. This item may be discussed in closed session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-465A2 sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation or work sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation. Mary Ann's your suggestion, open or closed?
Close, please.
Closed session. Anything we can say beforehand or?
I think you pretty much said it. What we're talking about.
Okay. I will make a motion to go into closed session.
Second?
Seconded by Sven. All those in favor? Keith?
Yes.
Martha?
Aye.
I'm in favor. Sven? And Mark?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. If there's anything to report, any votes taken or anything to report after
Hello.
Hi, Bill. It's Scott Avedisian.
Hey, hi, Scott.
Do you want me to leave now and come back later?
Well, I
Scott,
think-
This is Jill Seppa. I'm the clerk of town hall. The portion of the meeting that Ripta's participating in is gonna start at 7, so you can leave and come back. Or you can just mute and stop your video if you like, but all you're gonna see for a half an hour is what you can currently see. And
So-
Bill,
All right, so I'll just leave and I'll come back.
okay, and Bill, Millie is emailing you a link to the closed session.
Got it. Okay, I'll dial in. Sorry about that. I
Okay,
got
nope.
shut off with the rest of the public.
No problem.
Thanks.
Well,
What's going on all day? Where did it happen, people?
I don't come in this neighborhood anymore. I guess I don't. Yeah, it's not. You're in my I know, I just called you. As long as I can put it all around. I like looking at the barn. I actually
Put this on the delay.
I'm sorry.
You want to put this dryer on the delay?
That's fine. You can just run it. Can you hang dry the thing that has the clips? No hang.
I think it's more Vegas like that. That's just looks like they have How are you? Just I
Ready? We are. Thank you.
You're in the corner.
Who's in the corner? Okay. Good evening, everybody, and thanks for coming. We're going to continue the meeting, the 7 o'clock portion of the meeting with item number 2, which is public comment. Does anybody have any public comment?
We have to seal the minutes.
Oh, right, we have to seal the minutes. All right. Make a motion to seal the minutes. Basically, when we were in closed session, we directed our land use attorney to correspond with an attorney over at Hinckley, Allen and Snyder on the issue of the request for indemnification from Cormorant Cove Association. No motions were made, and I'll make a motion to seal the minutes.
Second.
Seconded by Sven. All those in favor, Mark?
Aye.
Sven? I'm in favor. Martha? And Keith. Motion carries 5-0. 7 o'clock portion of the meeting, public comment. Number 2, if anybody has any public comment on anything that's not currently on the agenda this evening, now's the time.
Briefly, Andre, I just want to applaud and thank all the people who worked at that testing station for the last how many months for COVID. I was there on Tuesday. I was the only one there. They've been there when the line's gone all the way back to Twin Maples, and they've been there when only one person's there. So thank you to all of them.
Thank you, Mark. Item number 2 on the agenda is, Kristen Bauman, do you have public comment?
I'm Kristen Bauman, resident of High Street. I have a public comment about 2 bills that are in front of the General Assembly, and I don't know if you'd like me to speak about them now or at the legislative item on the agenda, or maybe not. But there are bills that I hope the council will take some interest in opposing. They're discriminatory, they're racist, they're oppressive. They are S 2501 and H 7539. They were sent to the attention of the Family, Friends, and Allies group that's forming on the island. And so I felt it important to bring it to your attention. These are anti-diversity. They are archaic. They're oppressive, and that's from other members of the assembly. So I can speak further of it at the legislative agenda, or I can send you copies of this in your emails.
I would say both.
Okay,
Because, yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, if you don't mind waiting, I think.
Yep, fine, thank you.
thank you. Anybody else? Public comment? Thank you. Third item on the agenda is tabled from 3/20/2022 and 3/7/22. Discuss and act on the amended easements for National Grid Cable Project. I know Mary Ann and Councilor Marola have been working extremely hard on this. I think we are finally there. Mary Ann, I'll give you the floor to fill us in.
So before you this evening's two amendments to easement agreements. One talks about the financial piece of it, which they provide us with $26,000. And then if they stay beyond June 12th, it's $5,000 for each day after that. The second one is more in relation to the testing of the splicing. This was something that was requested by our project manager, Mission Broadband. They have been actively involved in these negotiations. Kathy Marola has reviewed both these easements, these amendments, and also has Mission Broadband. And the recommendation is to the council is to approve both as presented to you this evening.
Thank you, Mary Ann. We've had a couple discussions, as it says on the agenda on this, twice, actually. Council, do you have any questions on the item?
Now, my only concern is I think the compensation is inadequate, but I am going to vote in favor of it tonight.
Thank you, Mark.
One last thing.
Only so that it can be the continued broken record for anybody driving north. I hope the snow fence is not a reflection of the quality of work of their splicing. And hopefully they'll clean that up.
Thanks, Sven. Martha?
Okay, I'll be a broken record too. Where are we with straightening out the whole north parking lot?
Currently, staff has been looking at that, looking at some aerial photos from Google Earth, and we are in communication with our engineer also with that. Once we have information, we'll be happy to discuss with the council what we found out and get that issue resolved.
Okay, my understanding has been that there's some agreement to put it back the way it was, and I'm not sure what that even means, because it wasn't the way, it was never the way it is now. And even if it was, it's wrong, and they wouldn't be back here if they hadn't mucked up, so they should just clean the whole thing up. This is an opportunity to get it done, and I can't understand why we have one end of the parking lot having been done and the other end having been, I have no idea what you can call what they did to the north end.
Yeah, I mean, I've said the same thing for several meetings now, and that is I was not inclined to vote for the easement unless the town engineer, the director of public works, and you were prepared to say that the parking lots, that you were satisfied with the parking lot solution. And I didn't just hear that. I heard we're still working on it.
Yeah. I don't know if I can jump in or not. This is Joe Murphy from National Grid.
Joe Murphy, National Grid.
Oh, all right. Sorry, Joe Murphy from National Grid. Who else is on the line, just for the record, from National Grid?
Yes. Yeah, so we have, Dan Glennie and John Spirazak. I'm going to butcher his last name, but John is National Grid as well. But certainly we've heard your comments before, Martha, and we're
Sorry to interrupt you, but could you speak up a bit, or?
Sure. Can you guys hear me now? Is that better?
Garble, we're going to try to work on this on our end. Give us a second.
Okay, sure thing.
Could you just speak a little bit, Joe?
Sure. Let me just switch my my speaker on my end to make sure that you can hear me. Is that better?
Much better. Thank you so much.
Okay, sorry about that. But yeah, I just want to make sure that the town council is clear that National Grid is committed to addressing the issues that have been raised in the north parking lot. The amendments and the easements require us to do that. And we have dispatched a team to do an additional survey of the north parking lot. But I can promise you it'll be returned to your satisfaction, and that's already in the documents, and you have our commitment to do that.
I say this with the greatest possible respect. That's insufficient. That you're assuring us that it'll happen.
Well, just to be clear, sorry. Just to be clear, it's an obligation in the written document today. You have a legal obligation to do that under the easement. So you can continue to ask us and pursue us to make sure that it's done to your satisfaction. So that it's in the written word. I'm just trying to reiterate that we understand that it's an issue that you've raised, and we want to make sure it's right. So we're giving you an additional verbal confirmation that we will make sure it is right.
The original easement that they also signed states that the parking lot needs to be returned to the condition it was when they started the project.
I mean, I hate to be flippant about it, but I'll say, and yet here we are. I mean, I think frankly, without the work that and the voice that Martha's given to it, me to a lesser extent, you know, I don't know whether we'd be in a place where it looks like the south parking lot is going to be taken care of. I mean, I had hoped that we'd have a similar kind of conversation about the north parking lot as we had at the couple of meetings ago with Jim and you and Matt about what's going to happen in the north parking lot.
So if you want, the DPW director has been working with Jim. If you want him to speak to where they are and what they've done, I'll be happy to do that because I haven't been engaged in all the.
Yeah, I mean, we have no the town council has no capacity really other than via the easement to hold National Grid responsible, but we trust you and Jim and Matt to sit before us and say yes, and you'll be held accountable for that, obviously. I don't mean that, you know, I mean, but that's all we can sort of hope for. And I've heard that on the south parking lot. I heard about the core sampling that was done. We heard a very well-developed plan. I have not heard that on the north parking lot. We heard about the CRMC permit for ongoing maintenance, et cetera. And we haven't heard that on the north parking lot. So
I'm confident that the north parking lot, we have the plans. They're in the facilities director's office. He has the plan. The DPW director's working on it, the engineer's working on it, and they have assured me that the parking lot will be returned to the condition it was when National Grid took it over. The Rosa Pagodas that you've seen, the plantings that are in there, that was part of the contract that we signed and we asked them to put in.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to be clear about that those will be staying unless the town chooses to pull those out. That was part of the contract. And that the previous facilities director supervised that project and was involved with those plantings and to be sure that what is there was based on what was signed in the contract and was included. And we do have an easement with National Grid that says the parking lot needs to be returned. Matt, do you have anything to add to this?
I'm sorry, was that a question for us? I couldn't hear you.
No, Joe, it's our DPW director, Matthew Moynihan. Thank you, Matt.
Sorry about that.
Said is that, you know, we've looked at the plans as she mentioned. We do have Google Earth that shows a 2019 image and the image today, and identical on the sizing of it. When the project is done, when they return to the island and complete the last phase, we've been assured, and we will hold them accountable and make sure that that parking lot is returned to the state it was when they started. You know, when we did talk to them, there can't be any additions to it. We can't add additional spaces. We can't widen it. It'll look exactly as it was before they started their project.
It didn't look like this before. This isn't what, Sven, this wasn't what was there before.
Well, all I can tell you, I wasn't here before, but what I can tell you is looking at Google Earth on a 2019 image, I can show you right now, it's
Yeah.
almost identical to the way it looks right now. Other than the bushes on closest to Corn Neck Road weren't as full as they were fuller then than they are now, because they had to be replanted.
I know it seems like a bad hill to die on, but
Yeah, no, and this is Joe again. You know, we don't want that to be the case, Martha, right? We want to make sure that the town is satisfied, right? And like I said, the written word obligates us to do that. And we need to make sure that you're satisfied, and we'll take the feedback from from the town representatives as well, and the feedback from the council to make sure that it's right, right? We get that. We understand it's a critical part of the island. And our goal has always been to return it, right? It was never an intention to not return it. And if that's not the case, we will fix it.
And again, I'd like to highlight also, it's not going to be just based on the Google Earth photos. It was well documented before the project started. And we'll ensure that the measurements and the pictures match from what we have before it started to today.
okay, I guess from my perspective of going by it every day, the parking lot has gotten worse and worse and worse. This was an opportunity to get it fixed. We got the south parking lot fixed, and the north parking lot is like the abandoned stepchild. And it's just, the idea was pull it out, get parking off the road. I think it worked. A lot of people said, oh, it's not going to work when it was first done, and it did work. And it's just really frustrating that something this simple seems to always go back to what somebody thought was the right idea a long time ago. And if we wouldn't even be here if National Grid had gotten everything right, we'd be stuck with it. And I think this is an opportunity to get it fixed. That's where I'm coming from. And I know how I sound, but somebody's gonna say these things.
So,
Go ahead, Sven.
or I guess Marianne and Matt, I think where Martha's coming from, and it's been consistent about this, is how do we get more parking? How do we get more cars off the road? Can we do something better in the north parking lot? By better meaning more spaces. Forgetting what year that Google Earth, and I'm not questioning it. You know, do we want to redesign it so that there's not as much berm and actually put spaces in there? I think Martha would call that back to where it was
Well, it's back to way back.
And so the question is, would that be a smart decision right now so that we can get, I'm making it up, 5 more cars in there or 7 more cars in there and get them off the side of the road? And is that something that we can explore with National Grid to I'm gonna use the word improve the parking lot and sort of get to where Martha's thinking it, you know, a point.
Understood, but my understanding of it is that it's returning it to the state before they came. You can't add to it. If we're going to add to it, if we're going to get additional spaces there. It's when National Grid came there, when they started the project, they're going to return it to that state. If 20 years ago you had more parking there and you want to go back to that, that's not necessarily National Grid's responsibility. Theirs is to return it to the state it was when they came.
And I guess, I'm sorry, I guess where I'm asking you and National Grid, I got the contract. I hear exactly what you're saying. We wouldn't be here if we hadn't had other issues, which is again, revisions of a contract and an agreement and sort of deeper and deeper holes. So my question is, can we add more parking into that parking lot and improve that parking lot per Martha's comments with National Grid? And it changes a little bit, I understand that, but is that possible? I'm asking.
You want to work with
So I
National.
just wanted to,
Go ahead, Joe.
No. Mark.
No, sorry, Marion, you go first. I apologize.
So I just want to understand what I'm hearing from Sven is you want us, the parking lot is going to be returned to what it was before National Grid started. But what I'm hearing is we want to make improvements to that parking lot from what it was prior to National Grid starting, and we would like to engage National Grid to do that.
Yeah, that's in essence what that's actually saying, let National Grid do those improvements, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so can I talk to that one point? So when we talk about improvements, I think the main consideration that we have to keep in mind is that we have permits that allow us to do certain things in that parking lot from a CRMC perspective. Improving the lot in a way that would add spots would not be available to us under the permit. Improving it maybe in other ways could be, but to us to eliminate the berm as an example and create spots, we are not allowed to do that under the permit that we received from the CRMC. So we're happy to talk with the town and figure out how do we make improvements, return it, but then consider and talk about improvements beyond that. But it can't be from a footprint perspective that would violate our permits. So that's the only other thing I want to make sure that the council is aware of.
Thank you.
What Sven is talking, I'm sorry, Andre.
Go ahead. No, go
What
ahead.
Sven is talking about is not what I'm talking about. I want to know, for example, and I've said this, like, do we know, for example, one of the things we discovered in the south parking lot is that there was a substantial amount of a different material that had been left there and had an impact on drainage and the condition of the lot. Do we know that that's not the case in the north lot?
As of now, we haven't seen any drainage issues in that north lot, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. The south lot, we saw the drainage really quickly. And I don't think as much construction that went on in the south lot went on in the north lot.
I mean, I sound like.
So what we could do is what I'll do, okay, I'll have Jim Jeremiah come back on site and I'll have him test the soils like we did on the south lot.
That'd be wonderful.
I'm more than happy to do that. If it's finished the drainage, I'll be more than happy.
And are
to do
we
that.
contemplating in this easement and in these discussions with National Grid that may be the case?
Oh, if that's the case, the original easement they had signed requires them to return the parking lot back to its original condition. If there's a problem with it, then they need to address it, just like there's a problem in the south parking lot and it's being addressed.
So National Grid is prepared to have 30, whatever it is, 3,000 yards of
Yeah,
put them
absolutely.
cubic measurements.
I'll be happy to bring Jim Jeremiah down. He can do all that test work. He can test all the soils because we've done it. We've taken the soils and we send them off the island. They've been tested by the lab. If we say the same thing, we'll let National Grid know right away and we'll start the same process that we did in the south parking lot.
I need a clarification. You highlighted aerials from 2019. This whole project started a lot earlier than that. Why aren't we using aerials from that before they started the whole project? Isn't that what we really want to bring it back to?
My question would be, when did National Grid start the project? When they came on site?
Since that, I was on the council 6 years ago and that's when the project started, right down there. Yeah. Because you don't have to be Sven, you don't have to be Martha. I might have driven, I drive down the neck probably more than them in my 30 years between rescue calls and my line of work. So we all know what it was like before the way it is now. And I would like to see it return there too for the extra parking.
The thing that I'm talking, it's not the footprint. We understand all of that and CRMC can't expand that. And I'll say it again, when the north parking lot, south parking lot was reconfigured, I never thought that was going to work. I didn't think there was any way in God's green earth they were going to get 2 rows of double diagonal cars in there. And they did, and it worked. It's the same amount of space. We know there has been And I've got a 1960 picture, and I know there's been considerable movement of the dunes. Landward, that's just what happens. The area that I'm talking about is the area where the Rosa rugosa was planted. That wasn't anywhere near that big before. And when they did it in the south parking lot and pulled the parking lot all the way out to the road, and this may have impacted, conditions, et cetera. There are a lot of people as you all know, there are always a lot of naysayers when anything is done in this town. And of course, it wasn't going to work, and lo and behold, it did. And that may have impacted what was proposed for the north end. I don't know. It just makes me crazy that all of this land is taken up for, when we've lost the width of the dune already from the seaward side. And now we're encroaching from the landward side as well. And we have all these cars on the neck road, and it's still a dangerous stretch of road. And I don't drive it in the middle of the day. And we get rid of it. We get rid of Sven. We don't have to listen to Sven talk about the snow fencing anymore, which should be a really upside of everything. It's a win-win. If you listen to me or Sven or Keith.
I think the snow fence was taken down today. So let me see, Martha, so what I'm hearing from you, you would like to take a look at that parking lot. I can have Jim take a look at the soil samples. We can do that. And also you can come down and take a look at the configuration. And I agree with you. It would be nice if we could get more cars off Horn Neck Road that are, parking perpendicular to the dunes or the road. So we'll be more than happy to do that. And we can explore, if we're looking to remove those Rosa rugosa, let's take a look at that. I have no problem with doing that. And exploring parking. You're right, the south parking lot, we have a situation where the parking seems to be right. Let's see if we can mirror it down the north parking lot.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah, and we're in favor of that being a condition of the approval of the easements tonight. That clarification in the record, and again, we've already committed to Mary Ann and the other representatives that we're working with to make sure that we get this done. And so those items that Mary Ann just highlighted are available to us.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the amended easements for the National Grid Cable project. I'm gonna give him a moment. I'm gonna give him a moment once the motion's made. Second by Sven. This public discussions, David Lewis.
Just quickly, nobody seemed to know, so I Googled when did Black Island Cable go live, and they showed me a Black Island Times article that said it went live in 2016 for the first time.
Thank you, David. Michelle.
Sorry if this is an ignorant question, but I only read this afternoon. They're going to be fiber splicing 48 fiber strands. 8 go to the town, 40 go somewhere else. And then after they're tested, if 40 strands work, the town gets 8. And there's a sliding scale. If 32 strands work and 16 do not, the town gets 0 strands. Can you explain that? It's in the contract.
Yeah, that's been a point of discussion. I'll let Mary Ann. Mary Ann's been
So as I understand it, and I would have National Grid jump in on this also to explain this, 8 strands are what we'll get during this process. If it gets up to where there's 16 strands, they have a bigger issue. So if they have 16 strands, they have a bigger issue, and most likely saying we won't get 0 strands, that they would have to come back to the drawing board, and they will also include us in those discussions. That's what will happen.
I don't agree with that at all. Their incentive is that no matter what, if there's 8 strands left, the town should get all 8. They broke it, are breaking it. The town did nothing. And unless you want to have an $8 million land project with nowhere to hook up, sign a contract, but I wouldn't sign it with this. You need to get 8 strands, period. That's what you're paying for. Or you got a
Joe, can you
40-year bond issue.
Sure, I'm happy to provide some context if that's helpful. So the strands are really utilized, the fiber is utilized to serve the wind farm. to serve the electrical cable, all the protection for the electrical cable, as well as the designated projects that the town will be using the fiber for. And so while we appreciate the town's request to try to ensure that after this splice is done, that they receive the fibers that they need, and we appreciate that and understand that. We needed to look at the solution holistically and understand what are our capabilities to provide fiber under a scenario that no one would desire, right? One where we had a bigger problem. I think what we've done is we've identified strands that are available for spares, if you will, that are available today for spares, and we've dedicated those to the town in the case where something might happen with some of the strands. The splicing itself is done every day. It's done across the United States. Every day, it's a standardized process. We're highly anticipating there's no issues with the splices, but we were trying to manage and address the town's consideration. But our ability to do that is limited, right? If we were unable to have any of the strands for the cable itself, the electrical conductor cable, or the wind farm, neither one of those facilities would be able to operate. We would no longer be able to provide power to the island. We cannot do that without the protection systems up and running using the fiber. So as Mary Ann said, if we have a problem where more than 8 fibers or more than 16 fibers are of issue, we have a different problem that we would need to engage the town with. We need to engage Ørsted with and have a discussion about how do we solve that together. So we've done everything we can in terms of trying to ensure the town will receive their fibers back. And we're very confident in the process, but we were trying to address an issue that was legitimately raised by the town. But we've offered everything we can from that perspective to be able to mitigate that issue. So we feel like we've done a good job, and we've worked hard with Mary Ann to accomplish that. And we hope others can see that as well.
Just to add, this language that you're now seeing in testing was not included in the original agreement. This is something we negotiated on behalf of the town. So if we weren't where we are now, this was not in the original agreement. So working with Kathy Marola and also Mission Broadband, we now are allowed to test after they test, and we now have a seat at the table if they have problems. We didn't have that 3 months ago.
Hold on, Doug, follow up.
Problem is still, you're signing a contract that if 16 are broken and they can't fix them, you get 0. I think you should do 8 or make them lay new cables. They're responsible to provide us with this. They
Yeah.
broke it. If I build a house that falls down, I gotta fix it.
Mary Ann.
We paid for it.
What we have is what we negotiate. I've been assured by Mission Broadband that they're 95% confident that this project will go through, that the splicing will work. What you have before you is splicing that we didn't have before. We now can test the splicing, which we didn't have before. If they have 2 cables that don't work, if they have 45 that are working, we are guaranteed them before anyone else is. So we are sent first at the table for this, and we weren't before.
Sven, you have a question? Anybody else? Motion been made second.
I don't understand this. I'm sorry. I should understand it. I don't understand it. We're only talking about the broadband connection here. What are we talking about here?
Mary Ann, can you help Martha out?
The 48, 40 or more.
That's the cable.
I'm not sure I fully
I mean,
understand.
the cable's got the 3 pieces.
They're gonna splice both power and fiber.
Yeah, those.
Since the town.
I'm sorry, Amy, could you come to the microphone? Identify yourself for the record for our guests.
Sure. I'm Amy Land. And so Martha, I don't know if this is your question or not, but they're going to be splicing both the power and the fiber as part of that cable repair. The town isn't a party directly to the power piece. We are a party to the fiber piece because under the fiber use agreement that the town signed with National Grid that gives us the right to use 8 of those strands of fiber. So that's an underlying document that people may not have a context for. And so the agreements that are proposed in front of you really overlay on top of that and are designed to ensure that the 8 fibers that we currently have access to under that agreement, the fiber use agreement, can be maintained throughout the splice experience. Is that a fair way to say it, Marianne?
Yeah.
Okay. Does that help at all? No.
No, the piece of cable, the cut through that we had, that may still be out there, I don't know. Are we only talking about one of those pieces? There are 3 pieces.
Ultimately, all of those pieces will be cut and
But
spliced.
48 or 40, which is the number?
There are 48 fiber strands.
And that's one of the pieces.
That's one of,
Right.
yes, the pieces.
Okay, I just suddenly thought, that's what I thought. Then I thought, my God, I got this all backwards. But we can end up with 0. How is this? What am I missing?
If they have 16 cables, splices, fibers that aren't working, they may have to come back and restart all over again. I'm hoping that's not the case. So.
Yeah. So if I could jump in as well, right? So for clarity, or to maybe reiterate, we're very confident that the splicing process would result in all 48 fibers being returned to their current state. So that there's very high level of confidence here. We're just trying to address a scenario where, if there was a problem with any of the splices that resulted in the fiber not being something that could be utilized, we try to examine the pool of fibers, what they're being used for, what they're dedicated for today, and provided the town some assurances to have the first availability of those fibers, right? As we said, if we have multiple fibers, when I say that, I mean anything after 5 fibers that have an issue, that's considered a pretty big problem, and it's something we're going to be looking to address immediately in the process that we're in the middle of, right? So we would be looking to try to identify what is the issue in terms of the fibers themselves, and so we're not anticipating this to be an issue, but our ability to provide a replacement fiber in the case where all 48 fibers don't work is not, our ability is not unlimited in terms of what we have available out of the 48. And so what we've done is we've tried to ensure that the town has a first pass or first bite at those additional fibers that are in spare mode, if you will, to ensure that if we had 1, 2, or 3 problems with the fibers, we would be able to make sure, and they were the town's fibers, we would make sure they get their 8 back without a question. Like I said, as that number grows in terms of the issue that we might have, there's something else afoot, and we would be evaluating it on the fly live to figure out, okay, what is the issue? How can we solve this? Well, we understand the importance of those fibers to town. We get that, but those fibers that we have in that cable are as important to operate the cable and operate the wind farm as well, right? Those are critical. We cannot operate those 2 facilities without fiber. So we're willing to come back to the table and figure out, okay, what do we need to do to solve this collectively as a group at that point in time, which is consistent, as maybe as Amy said, consistent with the fiber agreements that we have in place. We tried to raise the bar with that in this particular instance. And like I said, I feel like we've done a good job with Marianne together, trying to figure out a solution that works, working with Mission Broadband, and coming back with a solution that can work in the very low likelihood that there's an issue with those fibers.
Thank you, Joe. Do you have a comment?
I do. Right now, I'm a no on this, and I don't want to be a no. So I'm, and shame on me, I was away and didn't spend a lot of time with this agreement over the last week, but I think we need, at least I need a bit of a more detailed briefing on the elements of this easement. right now.
Thank you. Are you good?
Yeah.
Millie, is there any public comment on the
Yes, there is.
interwebs?
Sean McGarry.
Sean McGarry.
Good evening, everybody. How are you?
Good, go ahead. Me.
So in negotiating this wind farm, Ørsted promised, well, they said that they could, at their expense, add fiber to the electric cable to provide us with high-speed internet, if I recall correctly. So I don't understand why Ørsted and National Grid are even have access to our fiber optics, and why we're not renting it to them, because it was my understanding that we owned that part of this project. That was what sold us on supporting this.
Yeah, so
If that's not the case, then this fiber would have run through the island regardless of the project, or regardless of our support or asking for the fiber. And the only thing that we have received from Ørsted and National Grid is a splice at the police station where we can hijack some of the fiber. So I don't see this promise of this high-speed internet being fulfilled whatsoever. And now to further say that they possibly are going to reduce our connectivity is ludicrous. I mean, when was this agreement made? I guess it was done in the broadband committee. I think it must have been public. I don't know, but that's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Amy, would you want to comment on that?
So just off the top of my head, I don't know the dates precisely, but I believe the fiber use agreement was either 2015 or 2016. That would have been, well, nobody who was involved in those negotiations is still here today, but it would have been a public document that ultimately would have been approved by the council with a recommendation of the town manager at that time. So it certainly went through a public process. To clarify, the town does not own the cable or those fibers. They are leased to the town. They are owned by National Grid. I think what other questions came up there that needed to be addressed?
For exclusivity.
So the town does have, I believe, exclusive rights to those 8 strands that we have been assigned, correct? We do not have access to the other fiber strands that are encased in that same cable.
So regardless of us supporting this project, those strands still would have run through the town.
Can you clarify, Sean? Can you clarify?
Sure. Had the town of New Shoreham not supported this project based on the promise to supply high-speed internet, those strands still would have run through the town regardless.
I don't have an answer to that.
Given how all of those things were negotiated concurrently, I don't think speculating on any one piece is appropriate.
Right.
Yeah.
Sen?
Yeah,
Thank
just
you.
real quickly, Marianne, maybe you can help me or somebody. In front of us, as a motion is an easement, which is about fixing, repairing, et cetera. The contract that was referenced and the discussions are in the original contract from 2015.
Correct.
And so, and restoring, and you said at a number of meetings, we started with 8, we're gonna get 8 at the end of the day. This easement doesn't reference any of that because that's based on that 2015 contract, right? Correct?
This easement does reference the 2015.
Yeah, it references the 15 contract, but it's referencing that as the base.
Correct.
Versus us discussing the contract here. The subject here is the easement.
Correct.
Of that contract.
Correct.
Versus the contract itself.
Correct.
Yep.
So I
And if
guess,
you
I
look at
guess
the
I'm
language
not, I'm
here,
sorry,
it talks about except as amended hereby, all other terms in the condition of the agreement shall remain in full force. If you look at number 2.
right, I got that. My point is though, the agenda item and the motion is about the easement. I hear Doug and great discussion, but that's really not part, I mean, that's not the easement itself. Is that right?
The implications of the work being done involve the.
Could trigger the contract.
Yes. So, I mean, I obviously I have 2 questions here, neither of which I'm fully satisfied on, but could be. One is, I want to know what Jim says about the core samplings in our parking lot. The other is, I want a very clear answer about the strand question. Those are the things that come up tonight. So I'm not prepared to vote on it, but could be if satisfied with this.
Brad Marcus.
I'm just curious, based on what Doug was saying, and
It's the, these hybrid meetings, nobody can hear you out there if you're not up at the microphone.
Brad Marthams, I'm just curious, based on what Doug had said and the original agreement, and we know there's been issues with that. If you sign this easement, is there any recourse in there if things don't go the way that they have been promised many times and they don't go that way? In other words, can we revoke the easement, anything like that? It just seems like there's an awful lot of promises made by National Grid and then accidents happen and then we're left holding the ball, so to speak.
Thank you. Hold on a minute, Bill. Can either Mary Ann or Amy take a stab at that?
So as I stated, we have a couple things going on here. We had a 5-year use agreement, which was signed in 2015. These are amendments to the easement, and it states that the 5-year use agreement that's in place is what we go by. The 5-year use agreement in 2015 did not address, even if we had one strand that didn't work, it said we will go back to what the 5-year use agreement says, and we'll talk to National Grid. Here, we've given ourselves some protection if some of the fibers, as we go through the process of splicing and testing, and the last test is putting them in the cassette, which all 48 fibers will go in. If there's any problem in the splicing, we are the first people to stand in line to get another fiber. We didn't have that in the original contract. We do have that here. If you are looking for language that specifically says, no matter what happens there, if it's down, if they have multiple fibers that aren't working, what I've been told by National Grid is that they will not proceed. They would have to do something, whether it be respliced, whether come up with a new cable, they would have to do something. I've been assured by National Grid and also by our Mission Broadband that usually 95% of these projects go fine. And I said to them, and Joe will tell you this, that has been happening in this whole project. Every time you say 95%, 98%, leave it in that 2 or 3%. So I've said that to them. So at this point, if there's a problem, we are the first in line to get another strand. If there are 16 fibers that are not working, they can't proceed. They may have to resplice. I let National Grid talk next steps as to what they would do if there's 16 fibers that aren't working.
Okay, thank you. Motion made and seconded? Oh, go ahead, Mark.
What would happen if we delay this vote? I asked that question to Mary Ann, and I'll ask that question to Mr. Murphy too.
They're looking to mobilize. They would have to delay the mobilization.
Joe's in a breaker if we do not approve tonight because we need more time.
Yeah, so time is of the essence, right? And we've been working hard trying to get this in front of the council in a condition that would be acceptable to the council. And like I said, we worked hard hoping that tonight's draft agreement or the agreement that we've placed in front of you would satisfy the town's needs. From a timing perspective, we currently have a long-term easement at that location. It limits us in time, right? In our ability to be there, to repair, replace, and do other things to that cable. We are mobilizing, and we've mobilized some equipment, and we're at the point now where everything is being mobilized for this project to be able to start it as soon as April 5th. And we have to be operating. What our goal was, we were hoping is that tonight we walk away with our ability to mobilize under an amended easement that would allow us and ensure that we have some additional time beyond what we have today to be able to raise the success level of getting this project done. I think anybody in that room and anybody on this call would be in agreement that the goal is get this project completed. I think that's really what everybody would like to see happen. And so that amendment that we have tonight would allow us some additional time to do that. We can mobilize under our existing easement, but we're going to be limited in time. We really need an answer from the council to be able to do this smoothly and to focus on the project and to get the work done. And we've been spending time to try to get to that point. And we appreciate all the feedback we've gotten from the town council in the prior meetings. It's been helpful, and we've worked hard to address those issues. And we're going to continue to work hard. And I think the documents reflect an obligation for us to do so. And we also are providing that, like I said earlier, verbally to make sure that you understand our intentions. We want this project finished, and we want to be able to do it this springtime. And having that easement and having the additional time, which we may not even need or use, which would be great for everybody if we get the project, get the weather, and we can get this project done earlier. But we need a decision to be able to do that and focus on the project and get the work, get the people mobilized, get the work mobilized. So that's kind of where we are tonight. And we really are encouraging the council to do the best they can to think through this so that we can get a solution that allows us to do that.
Thank you, Joe.
John, my final statement would be, I agree with you. We all want to see it completed. But my final statement would be, and I'll say it politely but directly, if you have a public relations department, put them on overtime to make sure this happens. If this happens, if it gets approved tonight.
Agreed.
Motion has been made. Oh, sorry. Hold on, Millie.
Sean McGarry from the audience. If you-
They've already mobilized. They have equipment on the beach already, so.
Thank you, Kristen Bauman.
No, that's South Parkmont.
Kristen Bauman.
For clarification, if I may, Doug, ask you, or the council, are your comments coming from the is that language from the easement or from this original contract?
It was from the easement, which was in clerk base for this meeting.
So it is what you're voting on tonight. And what I think what Marianne is saying, that if there are none that work, we're the zero, right? The zero, if zero work, we're the first in line to get them.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Not if zero work, if, wait,
Okay,
if zero work, all bets wrong. That means 48.5 is not working. So they have a bigger issue. So I want to clarify that when Kristen said if zero don't work. If zero don't work, that's 48.5 is done, don't work.
Or if the 8 that, I'm sorry, what is it, Doug?
No, Kristen,
Yes.
there's a sliding scale here.
Okay.
And the total fibers which pass the testing protocols go down. And if there are only 32 that pass the testing protocol, we have none. That's when we hit zero. And that's, I think, what's concerning some people at the table.
Thank you.
Anybody else, public? Motion has been made and seconded. My feeling is that we're not experts. I'm not an expert in this, but I think we have a very competent staff with Amy, with Matt, with Mary Ann, with Kathy Marola, it is their job to work these things out for us. This is what they presented to what I think that they believe, and I believe is in the best interest of the town. So I'm going to stand by them and hope for the best. I hope we're not part of that 93 or that 3 or 5%. I want to thank you for, I know this has been 2 meetings. It's been a lot of work. I'm going to vote in favor of it, of the motion of accepting the changes to the easements. So with that being said, no more public comment. Motion made in second. All those in favor, Mark?
Aye.
Sven?
Aye.
I am in favor. Martha? And Keith? This motion will carry 3-2. Thank you. And thank you, Martha and Keith.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Let's see. Agenda is tabled from 3/7/2022. Discuss and act on a cultural heritage contract regarding South Fork Sunrise and Revolution Wind Farms. Mary Ann, I'll let you take this.
So
Explain it.
as was discussed with the council in executive session, that Cultural Heritage would come forward with the amendment to their contract to include South Fork Wind Farm and Revolution Wind Farms in the project that is being proposed. So that's what's before you this evening. Same scope of work, nothing else has changed in the contract, just to add this item.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Council, comments?
Question, does that mean it's all being bundled together then? So it's sort of being approached as one or just another piece?
It's just another piece.
You're on the team. You got a comment? Right, okay. Hang on. What is the motion? I mean, what are they asking? They're asking to add South Fork, correct?
Correct.
All right, I'll make a motion that we add the South Fork Wind Farm in addition to Sunrise and Revolution Wind Farms to the contract with Cultural Heritage Partnerships.
Sure.
Seconded by Sven. Comments, discussion, public, council?
My comment is I hope we're not going to be adding a wind farm every single time, another wind farm. So that's why I asked about the bundling versus each one. So I'm fine to make it a threesome because that's sort of the beginning feels that are going in, but I'm not in support of nickeling this one every single, there's one in California, so let's add that. So I'm just saying, I'm good. But 3 is 3.
Yeah, they came before you and discussed that with you.
I think in as much as the impact is likely to be across the 3 projects, this more accurately reflects the discussions that would occur.
All those in favor? Mark?
Aye.
Sven?
Aye.
I'm in favor. Martha? Aye. And Keith?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Discuss and act on the recommendation from the Motor Vehicles Fire Committee to increase taxi rates. Brad Martins, do you want to speak to that? We've gotten some paperwork on it. I trust council has
Kind of put it to summary.
Brad, before you start, I and I believe Martha will both be recusing ourselves on this issue.
Don't forget to fill out the forms.
We come back to number 6.
Go ahead, Brad.
Okay, speaking for the commission, there hasn't been a rate increase in quite some time, but currently right now, the tax rates as published do not include the sales tax, which is a number of years they had to start charging according to the state. So the flat $10 rate.
Hold on.
That's what grid's going to help. That's a joke.
Good.
Okay,
Continue.
so right now, as it stands, the initial tax rate is $10 base. Then they add tax on top of that, and it's published as not inclusive of taxes. The proposal here is that the $10 rate would increase to 11, and all the rates will be inclusive of taxes, so that the individual business owners would be paying the taxes out of that themselves, backing out instead of adding on to it, and then taking in conjunction with that, taking the additional passenger from $1 to $2. So I think you have a report there and it is handwritten, but it states what the impact is for multiple riders per person on there as well. But that's the basis of this. And although we have not had a meeting on this, you know, with the rising rates and then historically with the motor vehicles for hire, when fuel rates did go up over, I think it was $5 quite a few years ago. Okay, we added a surcharge on it for fuel rates. That may be coming this season, we don't know. But with this, I don't think that will be coming.
Okay. Questions from the council?
So Brad, sorry, I know you're a foot, but you can bring the mic over if it's easier to say. So there's two parts to this, right? There's the $10 to $11, so the dollar increase, which is basically foregone about tax. And then there's the per person that goes from $1 to $2.
So there is a rate increase on the per person, but that's also inclusive of the taxes now, which right now they add the money on for the taxes. In other words, it would be similar to, you know, going somewhere and buying a drink and it's a flat $10 and then the business will still pay the sales tax back it out. Instead of adding it on to this, it's inclusive of it in the rate card review. And that also goes in conjunction with the additional rate for the additional person too.
And the tax that right now the motor vehicles for hire are assigned or assessed is 7%?
They're added, yes.
7%, so
Yes.
70 cents, so it's sort of a 30-cent increase on top.
Yeah, each dollar, it's added on, it's not inclusive. So this would be a way to do it being inclusive and not having to worry about trying to be a mathematician.
Good.
Based on our conversation with Kathy Marola and Millie that I've had, we don't recommend that the sales tax be included in the rate. Sales tax is something separate. You can't approve a rate that includes a sales tax because you're not authorized to put the taxes in. So that's one of the things that we've gotten feedback with our attorney.
Keith? Anything?
That's new to me. So
I think that's up to the individual businesses. These are individual businesses. So, you know, many businesses will back taxes out, many businesses will add it on. It depends on what they're doing. And these are individual businesses.
Can you repeat what you said? Can you repeat what you just said?
So the rates include taxes. And we've been advised by Kathy that we can't approve a rate that includes the taxes.
We can't approve a rate that includes taxes.
Yeah, as was.
As a rationale.
Right, if you want to present a rate that was.
Without the
at
taxes.
10 or 9.30, then you could be approving that rate.
But is it you're saying that our attorney is advising us not to approve rates with taxes included?
Correct.
Taxes aren't included.
But no, they just said taxes wrong. So is it $10 with the taxes or without the taxes?
Currently, as the rate card states, the rates do not include sales tax. Okay, and there are many instances all over the place where they do include sales tax, i.e. maybe a tax in New York City. You're getting a flat fee you're paying. They're not breaking out the taxes for you. It just makes it a little bit easier for a small business to operate, as well as incorporating some of the increases that are going to be coming this season. And there has been no rate increase in a while. So
I'm fine with that. I agree with you. I'm fine to vote for a rate increase, but this is kind of, I'd rather. I'd like you guys to have a meeting with Kathy.
Yeah.
And figure it out. I'm fine with, I know the gas is gonna cost you guys money this year. It's gonna cost you money, but judging by this, from what I'm hearing on behalf of. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let the council speak.
You're suggesting to us, Brad, that the impact on the consumer is not a change because of the way, because the individual drivers will be remitting the tax out of their gross revenues, correct?
that's correct. I mean,
So you're not asking us, for example, to approve a rate where the rationale is a change in tax collection. That's merely a rationale that you are providing that, correct, thank you. So I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
I just approve the rate with, and don't say with taxes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm, yeah.
Make a motion. Okay.
Tax plus 30 cents.
What they do with that.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
I'm fine. I'm fine with that.
Just approve without the tax.
Do we need, go ahead, Fred.
Fred Leader, the way I and a lot of other drivers do it, we take you, one person to, a $10 fare, we take you from town to Chaplins. I will just tell people, okay, it's $10 for the ride, and they're gonna get $1 for the governor, it's $11. It's just, it's easy to break it out that way, so they know where that extra dollar is going.
Okay, that clarifies things. Kathy, do you?
I just wanted to say that I had never heard about this tax increase.
I'm sorry, can you step up to the microphone for the, I'm
I
sorry.
hadn't heard about this increase until today. I didn't know anything about it. I'm opposed to it. I'm more concerned about the fuel charge. And I think it was in the 80s, we had a fuel charge added onto our fee. And that is a possibility. We'd need that this year. So that would be very confusing. I'd like to hold off on this tax increase or taxi fare increase. I'm not in favor of it. I knew nothing about it until today.
Okay, like, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and for those, I don't know if there are copies of it over there, but it's on ClerkBase, and it's a chart. But it, with the dollar per person, and Brad, that's sort of what I was getting at, with the dollar per person added, plus the a dollar increase, right? Forget why it's increased, per Keith's comment. You know, we're, for 8 people in the car, it is going up $7, right? So I mean, there's.
If it's 8 people?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the chart here.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's some significant increases, and
Well, your per person charge for 8 people is gonna be going from 18 to 25, so it's a $7 increase.
That's right.
That's what you're looking at.
That's right.
Okay, so it's not a drastic increase, and there haven't been any rate increases in a while. So, and you're still, regardless of the tax situation.
It's 30-some%. I mean, it's so $7 on 25. So, okay. I mean, it to me is seemingly a big jump on a high number. I'm not saying it's not a warranted number or whatever. It's just
So Brad, put it in perspective. If like a family of 4 wants to go from the ferry to like the airport or the Second Bluffs, with the rate increase, I see right now it's, how much would it cost for a family of 4 to go from, you know, the town to the Bluffs
16.
with the rate increase? Family and 4.
It would be 17, 18, 19. Is one zone?
14.
So it would be 17 plus 4, 21,
21,
or with the zone.
right, because you're crossing a zone, right?
These are just fares that.
within a zone.
zones.
Yep, within a zone.
18 versus 21.
Right.
Okay.
18 versus 21 based on both.
So I broke it down so that I think the per person charge is often overlooked. And that when 10 people come and get in the car and go from harbor to harbor, and it's $20, they're not looking at, it's only $2 a person. If you got on a different vehicle, if you got in a different vehicle that charged like this, the shuttle, for example, that we tried to do, it was $5 per person, so 10 people would be $50. You know, so if you got in a vehicle that was charging $4 per person or whatever that might happen in the future, it's a lot more. So the breakdown of the rates, I like to do the per person breakdown to show what each person is actually paying for that ride. That's why all these numbers are all over the place. So with the new rate, the fare per person goes up for 2 people, 50 cents. The fare goes up for 3 people, 66 cents within this, certain areas. And then you add on the zones, of course.
Okay.
And so on and so forth, all the way down. I just did up to 10, because that's what most people take on average. It's a large group. So the rate increase is all under $1 per person, period.
Okay.
And then when you see the changes in the rates for a group, it goes up $1 for 2 people, it goes up $2 for 3 people, it goes up $3 for 4 people, so on and so forth, all the way down the line. And then those per person charges, for example, if you're now for 2 people, it would be $6 per person. When if the change is made, then it would be $6.50 per person. I just wanted to show you the changes in the per person charges and the total as well.
No, I think it's very well laid out and I appreciate that.
And of course, the iron tour rates stay the same.
Thank you. Jim? It's the mask, I didn't recognize you for a second.
Jim Rondinelli. The only thing I wanted to say is as the number of people increases in the cab, of course, the fares are going to increase accordingly. So last year, if you had a party of 10, Harvard to Harvard, that'd be $20 last year for that. But under this proposal, it's $29. So it is a big increase when you get a lot more people. For the parties of 1 and 2, maybe what, $1 or $2 or something like that. But when you get the big crowds coming in your cab, it's quite substantial. So it's a tough one. That's it.
Kathy?
I just want to say.
Microphone.
My experience, well, she didn't get up to mine, but my experience driving cab,
Kathy?
Judy didn't get up to the mic.
I'm sorry.
Well, why do I have to?
I
think you can hear me. The point is.
It's not about you, Kathy, and me hearing you. It's about the public being able to hear you.
Not get to the mic.
Okay, I apologize for that. But this is how we have to run a meeting. If you're not gonna get up and respect this body, Kathy, I'm gonna, if you can't get up to the microphone, thank you.
The point is after 50 years of driving a cab in the every increase is a pressure on the tourists.
Right.
When a tourist gets in that large cab and they're not going to know how much they're paying. And so it's encouraging the large groups to get in a few to profit. I had no idea that we were having a rate increase. I don't know where it came from. That's a problem.
Thank you, Kathy. Council, anything else? You want to make a motion?
Is there a timing pressure?
Is it 2 motions?
I guess, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Brad, is there a timing pressure on this? And the reason is, one of the questions I would have is, do we have any idea of how many fares are 5 or more people? And it's a data question. I don't know whether you do or not. Because like I said before, and I appreciate the math, and $9 on what is now 29, it's a 30% increase. So on the larger fares, the larger meaning more people, it's a big increase. And on the smaller, it's a small increase. And I understand how we got, or how the math works here. I've studied it a fair amount. The curve kills me. You would think if I were a tourist or I were somebody getting in a cab and I brought my 7 friends along with me, I would think that would be a beneficial thing. And here it's actually not that beneficial. Understand that if we broke into 2 cabs, there are 2 fifths. I got that. But it's just the curve is very interesting. Thank you, Andre.
I'm going to get up to the microphone.
So if you brought your 7 friends, that would be 8 people. With the fares that they are, how they are now, that would be $2.25 per person. With the new rate, it would be $3.15 per person.
I appreciate the per person,
So-
Judy, I got that, but I'm looking, I'm
At
paying
the-
for the cab, so.
If you're paying for it, then you
it's-
got to take a little money from your friends. I understand what
No,
you're saying.
it's just
I
the way the
understand.
curve works, that's all I'm commenting on more than.
Like with a special event, the more people, the more costly it is. Okay, so granted, if you're spending, I'm not quoting the rates here, but if you're spending for 6 people right now and you're paying for those people and you're spending, let's say $20, and then you're paying for 6 people and you're still expecting to pay, and it goes up to $26, which, I don't know the exact, it's by and large with today's standards, it's not that big of an increase. I'm considering that there has not been an increase in quite some time. I'm just looking at the big picture, not just the one number. That's all I'm suggesting.
Jim.
No, I'm sorry, can we just?
I'm sorry,
was there-
Sven, go ahead.
Is there a time pressure on this? I mean, it's
Say
April
we have a
1st.
month or so,
Okay.
and we start.
Okay. Thank you.
Jim Hinthorn, and based on my one and done experience driving a taxi for a season, I would tell you that for the most part, we don't have a system in New York where it's the same fare whether you have 1 person or you have 4. And having said that, my experience, and I drove a lot of hours because I got stuck with 5 nights a week. And I would say my experience is, for the most part, I would say you're averaging, 3 to 6. You guys do it, but that would be my recollection. I'd love to have a large group, but it's usually late at night. They were all had too much to drink, and quite honestly, they didn't care what they paid. But I would say my experience would be somewhere between 4 to 6 would be the range. And as Judy said, I don't think that's a huge increase. I guess I'm saying I would support it.
Thank you. Fred, did you have a comment?
No.
Oh, okay. Millie?
You have somebody on Zoom ending in 9824.
9824. Hi, could you identify for the record?
Gamplin Star. And I've got other comments come later, but one for Sven. His math, did he calculate that at a $29 fare, it would be over $2 of tax? And that would be included. So you're really only raising it $7 for the fare. You got to remember, these include now the tax. Am I not correct in assuming that, Brett?
You are incorrect.
Keith?
We get your point, but we're not, technically you are incorrect. Otherwise, we don't want to get down that road.
Okay. Well, I'll mute and 2 later.
Thank you. What do you want to do? What's your pleasure? Do we need 2 motions? One for a rate increase and one for the extra person fee?
Yeah, you can do it as one if you're wanting to have the same answer.
I'll make a motion to approve the increase to the taxi rates, increase the base fare from $10 to $11 and increase the per person fee from $1 to $2.
Second.
Seconded by Sven. Keith, all those in favor, Keith?
Yes.
And I'm in favor?
Yep.
And Sven's in favor. Motion will carry 3-0 with the recusals of Martha Ball and Mark Emanuel. Want to go grab them?
And your grandchildren aren't old enough yet to use crayons. Crayons, maybe.
Thank you.
So, just so you know, if I were to do would be on having come back. Versus. Well, then they're gonna take that out. I don't want that. Continue the discussion. Let's see where this all goes. I'm sure there'll be input.
Amy, how's that budget looking, huh?
Millie? Do we have Richter on that?
Yes.
That's up to you. I'm just making sure they're here. All right, item number 6. Item number 6 on the agenda is to discuss and act on collaboration with Richter on a summer pilot program to reduce congestion and improve public safety. I'll start off this discussion by saying I'd like to thank everybody in advance for their input on this important issue. As we all know, traffic safety and transportation are longstanding challenges that we have discussed here. And in my opinion, we need to take steps forward so that we can make some progress. We need to have a more holistic transportation system on the island. We're one of very few places in Rhode Island without access to affordable public transportation. Visitors who come here and want to be able to see the sights are walking, biking, driving, riding down on narrow roads. And those of us who live here, I think, are pretty much terrified of a major accident. A CBS story on orb hunting could make the busiest summer we've ever had. This would be great for business, but after the last few years, some very bad and one much better, I am more mindful than ever that we need to make sure that our public safety and traffic safety infrastructure is in place to meet the demands that we put on it. I appreciate that the operators worked last summer on a point-to-point service, and I'm truly sorry it didn't work out. The report we received last week indicated that operators lost money, and understandably, they don't want to do it again. We've had an initial call with Richter to discuss a pilot program for 2022. Town Manager Crawford, Chief Moynihan, and I participated in the call. No decisions were made, and we discussed a number of the benefits and challenges to running a shuttle on Block Island. But I wanted to add this to the agenda this evening so it could be discussed and so that people were aware that these conversations were actually occurring. Part of Richter's process includes public hearings on route changes. So we can expect that they would hold public hearings on the shuttle as well. So that's what we're here for tonight with Richter, to hear a preliminary plan. And that being said, I will let Scott Avedisian or the Richter Group talk about that plan.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are happy to be back before the New Shoreham Town Council. We had a proposal last year and the year before. I'm going to turn it over to Eddie Brown to be able to give you the ideas of where we are right now and what we could do this year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Good evening, Town Manager Crawford, members of the Town Council, all in attendance tonight. Thank you for having Richter here. I also have Marky Buna, one of our planners, who's going to have a big role in this project. So he's going to be helping me out tonight. But if you want to just get to the presentation, do we need to share, or was it going to be done there?
We have had this up on Clerkbase. Plan up on Clerkbase. I think maybe there's some hard copies here. We don't have a projector set up.
Okay.
It would be good if you could share it.
Absolutely.
Somehow on your computer for the public, for the YouTube channel.
Yeah,
Yes. Resume, folks.
I have the presentation, so I can share it from my screen. And I can advance the slides on behalf of Edward.
Ed, before you start your presentation, this is Mark Emanuel, and I do hold a taxi license. And I thought I'd be reluctant to sit on this and would recuse myself, but because it's dealing with traffic safety, I will be sitting on this.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
And what about Martha?
Yes, I'm here also, and I'm here because I have worked downtown for 25 years and I've watched a lot of traffic and a lot of changes. And I also was a witness to the jitney stop downtown last summer.
Thank you, Martha. Go ahead. Proceed.
Okay. You are bringing it up now. Okay, here we go. Next slide, Mark.
Okay, there we go.
So my name is Edward Brown. I'm the Director of Service Planning and Scheduling for the Rhode Island Public Transit Authority. I'm under the direction of the Chief of Strategic Advancement, Gregory Nordine. Tonight, we're going to go over some goals providing some transit service on the island. We'll go through, we have a proposal that it's similar to what we had last year, but obviously up for discussion. And we have some considerations that we have to bring forward so everybody is on the same page and understands everything that's going to happen. And next steps. So goals. So first and foremost, improve safety on the island. It's a multimodal situation on the island. So you have, as it was mentioned, bicycles, pedestrians, cars, so definitely reduce road congestion. We have the ability to carry mass amounts of people. So that we definitely achieve that goal. Reduce the need for visitors to bring their own vehicle. Reduce cars on the island, extra cars on the island, definitely a goal. And improve options. That way it gives it options to visitors and obviously improve access. And this is consistent with your New Shoreham 2016 plan of the comprehensive plan. So right from the comprehensive plan, it's cited in there that a shuttle or jitney would provide a needed connection between two harbors and the town beach. Service to the airport should also be explored. This would provide transportation alternative to help reduce congestion in the downtown and surrounding area. Okay, so we're looking at providing a pilot service for this season. So a pilot is similar to a test run. It's basically a live test to see how this service works for people. And then we reevaluate at the end of that period, and actually during and at the end of that period to be sure that we're meeting all the goals. This service is proposed to operate Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, and Mondays of every week from mid-June through Labor Day. That could be discussed if, a shoulder season would, is a thought as well. We would look at bringing 2 vehicles to create 1 or 2 routes connecting to those destinations. Old Harbor, New Harbor, Fred mentioned Town Beach, the State Airport at Block Island, and the Southeast Light. Yep.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
No worries. Next. So obviously, we have no presence on the island as of now. This service will be aligned with the ferry arrivals and departures, so we'll have to stay within those windows. We are looking for the fares to be consistent with RIPTA's current fare structure. Obviously, we have some considerations when we talk about bringing a mass transit vehicle. They weigh a lot. There's a width issue in some cases. So those are some considerations. As we add destinations, the travel time will reduce the frequency of buses. So the frequency of buses is how often that bus will do the circuit and actually pass the same stop. So obviously, accessibility is a big thing for us here at RIPTA, and safety as well. So we will be working with the town to establish the bus stops in accordance with, as best we can to our bus stop guidelines. And then stops that may have available vehicle parking, those are some of the things we're going to have to work through. So the two vehicles, we're proposing the 30-foot vehicles. These are not quite the 40-foot. They're a little shorter. They're able to make tighter turns. We're thinking about the road design on the island. Another option as part of this is to brand these buses to make it, unique to the island or the service, and kind of to lure people to use the service.
And seating capacity for a 30-footer?
That's something we have to explore. The passenger, I didn't hear it had broken up. So the number of passengers on a 30-footer?
Yes, sir.
So I believe it seats 29, and it will stand a little more than half of that. So you can get 40 people on there. 40 plus.
You can get 40 plus in non-COVID conditions.
Correct. Yeah. Excuse me. Yes, non-COVID conditions. So we'll be working with Black Island Tourism Council elected officials, obviously the chamber, the taxi owners, ferry companies, and the general public. So, to be determined. So, are there other destinations that need to be considered? Obviously, there may be some things that people might come up with that we didn't talk about last year. That the road size, weight capacity or consideration. Obviously, size of the bus, we're going to have to run tests to actually see how we can maneuver on the island and whether we can maneuver safely or not.
Right. And Eddie, so the 40-foot bus was a concern a year ago. So now we've knocked it down to at least a 30-foot bus, or we can do paratransit vans, which would be 16 persons or less. So we're looking to make this work for whatever the city, whatever the town of New Shore wants.
We could stand on the paratransits as well.
Right.
So obviously non-COVID conditions, but roadside. So yep, I already discussed the frequency. So depending on how long this route is, we'll see what we get for a schedule. Bus stop location. These are all things that we need to work on. Mark's going to be doing a lot of this work. So the bus stop locations. Mark actually is pretty much our bus stop manager here at RIPTA. He makes those decisions. He helps identify those locations and put stops in the best available spaces that we can. Accessibility and safety. Obviously, when it comes to bus stops, it's definitely a part of you know, where those might be located and where they might not be located. It comes down to those things. We're looking at the the $6 day pass, you know, prioritized for visitors. This basically $6 gets you unlimited rides for the remainder of actually a 24-hour period. So,
which is much cheaper than a taxi ride any time of the day.
and we'll have we'll look to use the Wave mobile app or the smart card. So the mobile app is great because you take your phone and you tap, you just hold it underneath the reader and it reads the app and you board the bus. And that would be a prepaid situation. The smart cards, same thing, prepaid situation. You'd have a physical card that you would tap. So big considerations. So moving the vehicles and staff between the mainland and the island. Those are things we have to dig into and understand completely. And make sure that we can actually successfully do that. Storing the vehicles at night is there are possibilities that we probably want to do something along those lines. Where would that be? Is there security? Those sorts of things. Fueling up. Now, fueling, we have a CBA, a labor agreement between RIPTA and the Amalgamated Transit Union. So the fueling is done by members of that organization, those employees. So we'd either shuffle more buses or shuffle more people. I mean, that's one of the things we have to kind of run through.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
This is Martha. I'm on the town council. I've always lived on Block Island. I have no idea what you just said. Could you please explain that?
So we have a union here at RIPTA, and basically only union employees fill those, classified at those positions, fuel and clean and maintain our buses. Along the same thing with the operators, the drivers. Those are union employees, and they're the only ones who drive our vehicles. So we have an obligation to provide that they do all the work on those vehicles, and whether they're driving, cleaning, or fueling. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you. I certainly understand the drivers. It was the other piece of it that I was missing.
Okay. Thank you. We're going to get into some, we'll be doing some heavy marketing and advertising once things come to fruition, if that's how we work this out. And emergencies, maintenance, vehicles break down. RIPTA vehicles do break down. These vehicles work hard every day and things go wrong. So we will need to possibly bring maintenance across to the island. So more transportation, possibly with a maintenance vehicle to make those things happen, because the maintenance vehicles has all the tools and the things they need to work on these buses. And some kind of fair sale agreement. Where are we going to sell our products? Where are we going to set up people with the Wave pass, the Wave card, or the app can be done from the website. But when it comes to fair sales and people, especially tourists coming off of a ferry, they should have a good wayfinding of how they're going to, board this bus.
We need a kiosk for them. Yeah.
Okay. Next. All right. We're here for your feedback. We could discuss the concept. We really got to get to what this route's going to be. we're going to have to make a trip to the island to really vet those things out. And we will ask for some assistance from the town, maybe the town council, to help us or connect us with, the people who maintain the roads there at Block Island to make sure that, we're going where we can go and where we're not, and making sure we don't go where we're not supposed to go and those sorts of things. Obviously the bus stops again, we'll do some great work with that. And we really got to look at and kind of hash out a ferry agreement to try to get these vehicles transported. And we don't know the frequency of that yet. What we do know is we probably can run a vehicle there for 2 full days before it needs fuel again. So, all right.
Thanks, Scott. Council?
Thank you.
Comments?
Sure. I have probably not just one bite, but so you're contemplating, you want to bring these buses back and forth?
Yes. Yeah, well, they would definitely have to come back and forth every now and then. And part of that is pulling data from the buses. We want to get passenger data. We want to get on-time performance data, and those things are all done with equipment that is on the bus.
And also we know that the internet is not great on the island, so we would have to bring it back to be able to preserve the data.
And you would contemplate fueling them on the mainland because there's no capacity here to fuel them with union employees. Is that correct?
Well, actually that's more of a question that we have for you. So in the event we did a fueling situation, could our employees, instead of the buses, travel more frequently to the island, actually fuel the buses there? I don't know if what kind of situation you have at your gas stations, or whether you have town facilities that we could use.
So they would and the question would be, if you can have your employees fuel our buses, union versus union, we can probably make something work with that way.
Have you been out to sort of see what the summer traffic conditions are? I'm curious.
Yes, we have repeatedly.
And have you brought a 30 or 40 foot bus out, to see, just to sort of have a sense of how that would work?
No, we have not brought one out because we weren't invited to do that. But we do know that you have a full length bus on the island at all times.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So this is Sven Riesum from council. A couple of things. One, thank you, and thank you for the presentation. I think it's in a similar state to when we just talked last year, and I appreciate this coming back up. There's a number of things that it seems we should discuss, and then I guess get a lot more detail of proposal, or I'm not sure of your thoughts on next steps, but right now it's a concept presentation, and I think I understand that. Just to give you some input, at least from me for the moment, if one were to even consider this, I am, trust me, I'm very familiar with both the interstate bus and the school bus and trying to turn it around in small places. And I think as a starting point that paratransit's the only thing that really is going to work, if anything's going to work.
Well, Sven, you told us that you did not want a 40-foot bus. So we have now been, in the last year, looking at 30-foot buses and paratransit vans.
Great. So the other thing is that if this were ever to go forward, I think there's a fine line balance on Block Island between recognizability and non-corporate branding. we pride ourselves in sort of the no McDonald's logo, the Marriott backlit signs don't exist, things like that. And even the large corporations that are out here, I'll say, have respected both historic district needs, et cetera. So whether it's a skin or some way to make the any paratransit vehicle a little bit more acceptable, excuse me. And then I think proposal, the route is a huge question to me. The parking, you've mentioned many of them, where are you going to park, fueling, the $6, I think is going to be very interesting. It'll be, if this moves forward, because it's a big subsidization, it seems to me, which is not something we discussed last time. And my last question is on the Wave mobile app. Can one, if one is in a place where they can actually get on a phone service and get onto the app, can one track where buses are, or is that purely a purchase ticket?
I'm gonna let Mark take that one.
Yep. Mark, go right ahead.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer the question about tracking. So vehicle tracking is something that, again, is slightly dependent on internet connectivity. The buses themselves report their GPS location. And so in the same way that you can track buses, our buses on the mainland, where they are in respect to their route, we can set that up. That's really something that we make that available through a general transit feed. It's a general transit specification for where those locations apps are. So we have an endorsed app called Transit App that's available on most smartphones. And by making that vehicle location available in a standard format, many transit agencies use this format. It also allows other apps as well as Google Maps to show that as well. And so again, we'll have to. This is sort of why we want to bring the vehicle on the island. That will also allow us to not only test, turning radius, sort of the ability for buses to make certain turns and how it looks in the environment, but also what is the general ability for the bus to be able to communicate back to the mainland, or to cell towers or any other network to be able to actually track that. Yeah.
Right. And Mark, I think, Sven, the most important thing that you should understand is we are not charging anything more from our regular fare for this bus. So I don't know where the whole notion is we're going to charge more, but we are charging the same amount of money that we charge for every bus in the state of Rhode Island, which is exactly what you wanted us to do 2 years ago when we first started talking about this.
Yep. No, that's a big change. So got it. I think there's a lot of work, assuming we move ahead or get a proposal, there's a lot of work between here and there. Things have evolved. So leave it at that for now.
Scott, I'll echo what Sven said. When we had our discussion on the phone the other day, we pretty much were pretty unanimous that a 30-foot bus was going to be too big. And we did center our discussion around the smaller bus. And I believe where we left that conversation was that what we were going to do here this evening was to have a presentation of the council, and then all of your other questions about the routes, the locations. We discussed the ferry agreement on the phone the other day with your staff, and that was brought up as to be a very big problem. I would probably say that you probably keep those buses here for a while.
That would actually be the best thing we could do, was bring the vans there, fuel them there, service them there, and make it work.
Yeah, all right. And fueling, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I understand. So I know your drivers don't fuel the vehicles, but we have diesel at a full service fuel, gas station out here.
Correct.
So I'm not, you wouldn't need our staff to fuel the bus or the van.
No.
It's, would that work with you?
Honestly, I think that works better, because, we can just arrange for maintenance activities to happen with the maintenance personnel and just put them on the ferry versus putting an entire vehicle on the ferry.
Right.
And those have to be reserved. And,
Right.
and
And Marion and I have talked about where we can leave the smaller vans on the island all the time and just fuel them there.
Okay. Marianne?
Yeah, we talked about a couple of different places that we could include a place to vans, even as simple as the parking lot here in Town Hall.
Comments?
And Andre, let me just tell you one thing. It has been a pleasure to deal with Marianne. She has been so accommodating. We have had great conversations about what the possibilities are, what we can do, what doesn't work, what we shouldn't try to do. She has been fantastic to deal with.
We appreciate that. We like her too. Martha, does council have any?
Correct, Martha.
Well, I guess I'm, and granted, I haven't been participating in these conversations. I'm just not sure why we've got this here now, the same night we've got the budget by our charter, and how this even came to the table and how these discussions began. I mean, was there a council vote that how did it start?
It started with, I think you know the answer to that.
No, I don't. I'm talking about recently. I'm not talking about 5 years ago.
It started with trying to move more people around the island. And we had the taxi people tried it last year. Didn't work out. Last year, when we discussed this, we said that we would try the local option. We tried the local option. It didn't work out. So now we're back to this. Well, what
The question was, did I miss a vote
on what?
to bring this back?
You missed the whole year.
Yes, I guess I did.
I missed it too.
Well, I don't think you need a vote. I mean, councilman can put anything on an agenda. So will you want to take votes to put
No,
things
I'm
on
just-
agendas
I'm-
now?
Well, if we're gonna have people do a whole lot of work on things, I think it should be at least the three of you confirming that that's what the town wants.
Well, we are here discussing if the town wants this evening. Again, anybody can put an item on an agenda. Oh, I'm sorry, you don't want this on the agenda today because you don't have time, or?
No, I just asked how it was decided to put on the agenda, that's all.
When the taxi people came,
No, you answered the question, thank you.
I'm gonna answer you. Maybe you might not like the answer, but I'm gonna answer the best that I can. When this didn't happen, we have talked about congestion on the roads, people in the roads, moving more people around for many years, decades actually. And again, we tried it last summer. It didn't work out for whatever reason. So we move on.
Just wanted to learn.
Go ahead.
So it seems to me, and I don't want to jump to ahead, so I apologize, Mark or Keith, or you want to get public input. But it seems to me that what we've got is a concept discussion, right? A presentation with a whole lot of questions, right? From literally where are the buses, fueling, I mean, very basic stuff to some detailed stuff, right? And I guess it's hard for me to even react on this. It's hard for me to, other than thank RIPTA for coming and thank everybody for being here. And until we actually start to talk about any details of what it is, I don't even know how to react. So I guess my big question, and again, I don't mean to preclude any input, my big question is, what are the next steps? And it would seem to me that whether it's, how do we get the bones on this? How do we get details about this? How do we then have a public discussion about the real plan, not a concept? I guess we could argue whether we want even the concept or the plan to be developed. I think we should. I think the community deserves to see the details. And great, in my opinion, I'd like to see this go from to details. I am about trying to do this in a time period where we got weeks and days, not months. But I mean, if we can see the details from RIPTA in the next, I don't know, 3 weeks, it's got to be done quickly. That would be, I don't even know how to react to this.
Well, exactly. And that's what
and getting public input. So that, and then we may, and again, it's not in any disrespect, but when we see all these details, we may say, that's just not going to work. Let's start finessing them and focus on 2023 or something. I don't know what we'll say, but I think I'm willing to listen to the details.
Tonight's meeting is to throw it out there. And I think what we're looking for is if we want to go down the route of having public transportation. If the council, and then we would tell Mary Ann and staff to get the details and work with RIPTA to come back to us with that plan for public discussion. Because as I said earlier, RIPTA still has to have public discussion when they do their routes, a new route. So I think what we're looking for tonight is, do we want to go down the road of RIPTA coming out here and servicing the roads to move people around? And if the council was interested in that, doing something like that, then we go to Mary Ann and say, work with RIPTA, get the staff, work with RIPTA, and then come back with a solid plan. So I think that's what we're looking for here tonight. I think Mary Ann's looking for direction as to whether or not to move forward. Because we're not going to go through all of this work, have a bus come out and do the routes, if it's not going to be something the town wants to do.
This is Mark from RIPTA. If I may also add, I think we have two things going on here. One of them is the technical feasibility of us being able to actually operate the bus, and then the other part is the route planning. The route planning part is these two can happen in parallel. But to your point, yes, we would need to understand whether or not we can bring the vehicles onto the island so that we can book the time on the ferry, figure out some details, some major sort of technical, like feasible details so that we need to hash out whether or not, which is less impossible, is is it more feasible to bring the bus back and forth, or is it more feasible for us to figure out a fueling situation on the island? There are a lot of technical steps that we need to figure out, but a lot of that will also be dictated by specifically the route that we're planning to go. Ideally, the route would not involve literally having to loop a bus back in and out of a and having to go back and forth in a straight line, so that we're not having to back out a bus. But yeah, there are definitely some smaller details that we need to work out, and the route planning and the technical phasing, figuring out the technical details. These are things that can happen in parallel, but we definitely need direction.
Mark, you're absolutely right. But I think the bigger issue that we have to ask the town council tonight is, we have done this twice before. And if the town council does not want outsiders to offer transportation on their island, they need to tell us that now, because I'm not going to continue to expend an incredible amount of staff time and an incredible amount of planning time if they've already made up their mind that they do not want us to be on their island.
Thank you, Scott.
So Andre, in all honesty, if you've decided that you do not want us there, you need to tell me that, because I'm not going to continue to have my planning staff spend hours every month trying to figure this out. Because this is the third time that we have been at this same juncture. And the question is, well, we don't know.
Thank you, Scott. This is what we're here to decide. It's not up to me. It's the vote of the council. That's it. I mean, that's the bottom line. That's why we're here tonight.
That's a fair request, Scott.
I have a couple comments, mostly tangential to this particular proposal. But we have at least two things that we've learned since we last had this conversation. I had it a year ago with you, Scott, and I'm sorry you're frustrated, but I think the more time you spend out here, the more you realize that our traffic and moving people situation is challenging, and we're doing our best.
But Keith, let me just explain that. I'm not an outsider. I've been on that island.
Scott, let me finish. I have the floor. Thank you. Two things that are I think important. One is clearly the taxi drivers made a good faith effort with the point to point, and I appreciate that. From their perspective, it did not work. And I do worry that we're going to run from end stage to solution to end stage solution and analyze each of these options sort of after we've decided, well, maybe we can try this, maybe we can try that, maybe we can try this. And I am, I think I expressed last year, I am all in on doing a better job of moving people around. But I've become increasingly convinced over the last 12 months that we actually need a broader analysis of our traffic situation, of our road situation, of our parking situation, of our car situation, of the whole thing. Because I don't think, unless we have a comprehensive view of what the plan is, that it's going to be fair to subject any end stage solution to a fair and rational analysis as to whether it was effective. We're not even sure what we would measure it by. We don't really even know how many people are actually here on a particular day. We don't really know, generally speaking, we have anecdotal information from the taxis, which I think is probably quite accurate, but we don't know necessarily how people are moving and where they're going and how that's changing. So I think I appreciate this approach, but I think if we don't have a sense of a broader plan about who's coming and how we're moving them around, and whether, for example, is the taxi infrastructure that we have the right taxi infrastructure even? I don't know. I think it's worth looking at. Maybe there are, different approaches to the way that we regulate and fund taxis. So that's, I'm sorry to be so long-winded, but I have actually thought a lot about this, and I think absent a comprehensive sense as a community of what a new transportation plan and structure looks like, what a professional traffic study or traffic analysis looks like, what an engineer who has traffic expertise, there are firms that do this, that says about how we ought to be managing flow and managing people. I think that this is an end stage solution that is doomed to challenge. And that's not a no RIPTA never by any means, because I think RIPTA probably has the clearly terrific professional staff, but also sort of access to kind of perhaps more nimble tools to help us as we as a community plan through this process. So thank you.
Thanks, Keith. Molly?
Hi, thanks. My name is Molly O'Neill. So I have a couple things to say. I'm glad Keith brought up a traffic study. Respect Black Island. They submitted a preliminary traffic study, I'm sure, to you guys, but also to the Police Advisory Board, which was terrific. But it's not an official traffic study. And I think that the town council really does need to fund an official traffic study, because everything Keith just said, I don't need to say now. We don't know how many people are here. We don't know how many people are traveling by bike. We don't know how many different forms of transportation we're looking at on any given day, at any given time, and we need to know that information. So frankly, I think trying to have a bus come in is jumping the gun. We don't have any data. We have no data. Would it help our situation, right? Or like if you look at all the comments online, people think we should have golf carts. Maybe golf carts are the answer. You know, I'm not advocating for that, but you know, I'm just saying, like, to jump the gun and be like, buses are it, that's our answer. Because I happen to think better sidewalks are the answer to a lot of our problems. I think that the information that Respect Black Island came up with in regards to this dimensions of our intersections is really important information. The fact that our signage is so wacky. Our signage is so inconsistent. These are all things that were in that report. A real traffic study is something that you guys need to push forward. You need to ask the voters to fund. The voters need to approve that. And then we'll have data, we'll have information, we'll have real numbers to work with. As far as the bus goes, I'm going to disagree with this man, Scott, about the incredible amount of time he put into this proposal, because this is the same proposal that I heard last time, with the same lack of detail. I know he probably feels like he put a lot of time in on it, but I think a real proposal would include information such as, where is this kiosk going to go, right? Because if it's going to go at the Chamber of Commerce office, and of course, they're going to have to give a piece of the action to the chamber, I would imagine, to place it there. But if they can't put it there, where are they going to put it, right? So that's a big detail. So is, where are the bus stops going to be? What's the route going to be?
Can I just stop you for 1 second?
What's that?
That was all what we're looking for tonight, was just if the council wanted to move forward,
I
then
understand
that
that.
would all be taken, that would, then those discussions would be
I get
discussed. Because
And
we,
actually, you've all decided that you really don't want us to be there.
No, I mean, I can only speak for myself. I'd like real information. I feel like I got a recycled book report tonight. So I would want to know, if I were on the council, I would want to know, where are those kiosks going to go? Who's going to maintain the kiosks? You know, whose property are they on? What is the route going to be? Why is the Southeast Lighthouse suddenly included in this route?
I know that, well, that's a little jab at me there. I can see because I
No.
live there and have a business there.
Andre, I'm saying
wait,
because the
these are
taxi, can I finish, please? I'll
No.
let you finish.
Yeah, no, Molly,
So-
you can't because
So I'm not gonna get into.
it was most bluffs
I'm not
and
gonna.
I'm saying that because the route, it adds a lot of mileage onto the route. That's why I'm saying it, compared to what the taxi drivers did last year. So that's the reason I said that, but that's an add-on from what the taxi drivers did last year. Ferry reservations haven't been considered. I would like to know, they said that the $6 fare is good for 24 hours. Are they gonna run 24 hours? That's a question. Are they, if they put forward a proposal, if you ask them to put forward a proposal, is it going to include flex service for our senior citizens? So on the mainland, you know, they have flex buses where, you know, somebody who needs a bus, if they're handicapped or they're a senior citizen, they can have that bus come to their house and take them to exactly where they're going. Is that going to be included in this? Because that is a service available on the mainland.
Wait, stop. That is totally an inappropriate comment. Because you cannot have flex service where you don't have fixed route service. You have no fixed route service, so you cannot expect to have flex service off of something you don't already have. So that is just obscuring the whole discussion.
Wait, but if this goes forward, then we would have,
No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't have that.
It's a pilot.
So it's a
So
pilot.
you are attempting to derail something when you don't even understand the issue that we are talking about.
all right, you know what? This is.
No, I have relatives who do
not-
flex service on the mainland, so
This is not-
this is why I'm bringing that up. So I'm just saying it would be a great thing for our seniors. I didn't realize that it wouldn't be part of a pilot program. Anyway, all I'm saying is a real proposal would include where are these, I'm not trying to be adversarial, I'm just saying a real proposal would include information like where are they going to be parked?
No, but you knew that and you brought it up to derail the whole issue.
All right, you know what, Scott, just it's not, I don't think the individual at the microphone is doing that.
I'm sorry that you think I am. I'm trying to say
We need
a proposal would include perhaps them bringing out the 30-foot bus and the smaller van and running them through the routes, because like at the turn at the airport, I'm just gonna say as a for instance, I don't think a 30-foot bus can pull into the airport and make that sharp turn to exit the airport.
And this is what I've said, like,
Right.
all of that was, what they're looking for is direction from us to move forward or
I'm trying to
not.
offer that, Andre, and he keeps yelling at me,
I
so
know,
I'm just gonna
I
say.
understand that, but
Right.
I know.
But what I'm saying is these are all questions that I have written down from the proposal he just gave. And I think these are all questions that should be in a more detailed proposal that would involve actually bringing those buses out here and giving a proposal to the town council that answers real questions.
And that was gonna be the next step. If-
However, to go back to my first point, I think you guys need to fund a traffic study.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Hinthorn?
Thank you.
Let's end this conversation.
Yeah, it's Jim Inthorn again. So you sort of know how this is going to end up. Because we have certainly a large contingent of people that probably would not be in favor of this.
Jim, can I just interrupt 1 second?
Sure.
Given that we have a budget meeting tonight, to Martha's comment a long time ago, can we just make comments down to 2 minutes? And I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, it's less than 2
I'm
minutes.
just making sure
Because what
it's the
I'd sort of like to see you as a town council do is take a vote as to whether you would like to pursue a public transportation option to other options we have here, like our taxi. That's what I'd like to have you do. Otherwise, we're just going to keep going on for 14 hours. So I just sort of like to hear you all make a decision as the leaders of this community, whether you think it's worth going through to explore a public transportation option at Block Island.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Go ahead, Christine.
Tell I don't have anything prepared, but I just want to say, my name is Christine Monge. I'm just, it's disconcerting to be here. I feel like someone made the call to RIPTA and is leading them down the wrong path. I too would encourage you to decide, do you want public transportation here? I don't believe your community does, but somebody keeps calling RIPTA and saying they do. Also, RIPTA is Rhode Island Public Transit Association. I would imagine that they're tax-based. I guess Scott Avedisian can tell me that, right? You get tax funding from the government. And if that's the case, you've already been told that this is a terrible business model. I know personally, I'm a cab driver, you know, everybody knows, and I lost $1,500 on this thing. It doesn't work. It's not a good thing. And also, I agree with Martha, like, how did this get brought up? I agree there should be a traffic study. And I also agree with you, like, about, you know, the branding of, we have a giant RIPTA bus, you know, they're going to want to brand it around the island. Is that what we want the island to be too? You know, the cabs also are taking the brunt of the problems here. Traffic studies involve cars. And if you have so many cars here, that is your problem. This is all about traffic, and traffic involves cars. Look at the cars that are coming over to the island. Look at how much they're priced. Look at other islands.
Thanks, Christine. Just try to keep it down.
Yeah. You know what? Let me just make a motion. Just, I know you don't want to speak, but we may not even be moving forward. You might not even have to. So, you know, I'm not only think I need to make a motion. Do we want to move forward with Mary Ann talking to RIPTA or not?
Well, I want to comment on that.
What?
I want to comment on that question.
You can comment on it. Go ahead.
Cool. So my answer is that question to me is premature.
Okay.
So I would be voting no, but not saying no to Scott and RIPTA, because you know, I think, does it come to that when we have data and a real analysis? Maybe. But I think we have a lot of questions to answer before we, as I said, get to proposing an end stage solution that I fear is kind of doomed and will besmirch the notion for another decade.
Right.
around the idea of some larger transit solution.
Right.
That's
okay.
My opinion.
And you know what? At this point, I agree. And I think Sven agrees. Martha, I think you agree. And I think Mark's probably, I'll let you say it.
Yeah. There's hurdles. I mean, here we're talking
absolutely hurdles.
We're talking about finding parking spots for these vans when we can't even get a tow zone for Block Island that we've needed forever. I don't want to sever ties with RIPTA at all. Might I give you a little alternate project that someone a lot smarter than me came up with? And that is to pursue remote parking on the mainland and a shuttle service from that remote parking to alleviate possibly some of the cars coming over to Block Island. So no, I don't want to sever ties with RIPTA, but there's too many hurdles right now that I foresee. You mentioned advertising. We have a great problem. There's two kinds of problems out here. There's good problems and bad problems. We have a good problem. We don't need advertising. And well, that's all I'll say.
Okay.
Can I just say one more thing, please? It's really nothing about, so just while I have somebody's ear, is talking about the RIPTA bus, Scott Avedisian, I know that you hear us, is that the 66 bus now is 2 buses from Providence. And I have 2 kids that go to college in Providence.
Let's keep this on.
I know that, but we need to change the bus. If you're going to advocate.
That's not on the agenda, Christine. You know, we're going to move on. We're just going to table this. We're just going to table this for now and move forward to the next item on the agenda. Scott, I thank you so much for coming and joining us this evening. But you obviously heard, you know, what the the thinking is, and I agree with my council. I agree with the members of the council here. And I think we can put the RIPTA thing to bed right now. And I think that's what you want to hear here.
So Andre, we're always welcome to have conversations on whatever the town wants.
And I thank you for that, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Go ahead, Sven.
And Scott, this is Sven. I look forward to those details, and I think some way we've got to figure out how to do that. I agree. A study is good, but I think we have sort of missed an opportunity to really look through those details and try and figure out how to make efficient and effective transit work. And cabs are doing a great job here on the island, but there are potentially other alternatives. So don't be a stranger in the sense of long-term planning. I just think we got some homework to do first. So thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is discuss and act on agreement between the town of New Shore and Ocean Managed Edge Lit Wave Service.
So what's,
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted to point out that handicapped people want to, they just recognize the fact that they're not going to be recognized, just so that they don't feel it.
What do you mean?
Want to just recognize that they won't be recognized. Then we're telling them that we're discussion. People.
I just want you to understand that there are people who want to comment. I know you're not taking comments, if you would just make a comment that you are moving on to the next item. They're not being ignored. It's just that you are not taking any.
Okay, they don't know that from your computer? They don't know from you just said that?
Well, I think that's the first one.
All right, so, all right, so if anybody had comments on item number 6, we've pretty much tabled that item. And I'm moving on the agenda. We know you're there, but we're just not gonna take any more comments on that, because I think we've had enough this evening. If you'd like to still comment on it, feel free to send an email to the town clerk's office and it'll get distributed to the council. Mary Ann O'Sheen.
So what's before you is an amendment to the contract that, as you've been hearing all along, there's been a supply chain issues with a lot of things, and there's also a supply chain issue with the equipment that Ocean has ordered for the broadband project. What they're looking to do is, as an interim, is put another solution in while we're waiting for the other equipment. There's no additional costs associated with it, but since we're amending the original contract, I thought it'd be best to bring it before the council this evening.
I make a motion to approve the contract with Ocean as stated.
Second.
Discussion? I mean, are we gonna, please don't say we're gonna spend another hour on that. You wanna call it?
Yeah, motion is made and seconded. All those in favor, Keith?
Yes.
And Martha?
Aye.
And Mark?
Sven, yes.
Sven's good, and motion will carry 5-0. I'm trying to find my agenda. Just give me a second here.
So can I jump in here in abundance of what's going on in time with the budget? I would recommend my town manager's reports there. You can read it. The only thing Millie would really like to get done this evening is the Board of Canvassers, the appointment. The rest of the stuff, other than obviously the work section on the budget, I would strongly suggest that we table those items until the next meeting so we can get into the budget.
Okay. So you would like to table your report? You can do it. I mean, you can
You
just.
folks
glaze
have
over
it, you read it.
All right.
Look at Board of Canvassers.
Yeah, I would go with the Board of Canvassers. If anyone has any questions on my board report, please don't hesitate to email me, reach out to me in the next couple of days.
Thank you.
I will make a motion to, okay, so next item on the agenda is discuss and act on board, commission, committees appointments. Board of Canvassers, I make a motion to appoint to the Board of Canvassers Greta Hines for a 3-year term and Hillary Transformer Bert Kloster as alternates for 1-year terms.
A second.
Seconded by Sven. All those in favor? Keith?
Yes.
Martha?
Aye.
And I'm in favor.
Aye.
And Sven's in favor and Mark.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. I'll make a motion to appoint.
What is it? We're gonna just skip the rest, right?
Right.
Just those two board of canvassers.
You don't want to do EMA?
Just for time.
I can do it.
Okay, good.
I can do it. It's only gonna take a second.
Go.
Mary, you got a big binder there. Don't worry about it. Emergency Manager Task Force, Matthew Moynihan, Bain Transu as co-director of emergency. Tracy Federiks is the rescue squad representative. Mary Ann Crawford is the town manager representative. Dr. Tom Walkup is the Block Island Health Services representative. Jeffrey Wright as the Block Island Power Company representative. Bill McComb is co-director of emergency management. Laurie Anderson is Block Island Health Services alternate 1. Peter Gimp as co-director of emergency, and Chris Hobie is co-director of emergency management. Second. Huh? Is there a second?
I know, it's 4. No, so there are 4 co-directors.
Hold on a minute.
No, there's a note here.
Bill?
Wasn't that out there for the being because of the fire chief position?
Yes.
There's no years now?
Yes.
So.
So it's, I just appointed him.
Right, but up top you had Bain, should that be Chris Ogle?
It's not Bain. It's Bain is switching with Chris Hobie. Did I read Bain too?
You read Bain.
All right, well, you guys are rushing me, so, all right, so, I'll amend the motion to not include Bain Transu.
Second.
And, all those in favor, Martha? Keith?
Yes.
I'm in favor. Sven?
Aye.
And Mark?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. All right, Mary Ann.
I'm sorry. I know we wanted to do this, but I also really respect the comment that was made in public, which was about 2 legislative items. And I just don't want to lose them because there is some timeliness to them. And I want to make sure we just don't lose that.
Kristen, you're sending them in, aren't you?
I will.
S2501 and H7539.
I will, I think it's fair to everyone in the room too, that I send them.
Yes.
Then it will be on clerk base and everybody can read it, so.
And I think
Or maybe it'll make it to clerk base.
if you can put it soon, then what we can do is get it up, but more importantly, then we can do it at the next meeting so that we can address the issues in time that it appears in the House and Senate. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry.
If one of these is the don't say gay bill, is it?
It mimics that, that's the Florida
Yes.
legislation, and that's what it mimics.
Okay.
So thank you for bringing those up, and I just want to make sure we get them in. Sorry. Thank you.
Kristen, do you know if another town has already done a resolution on it?
Do I know that? I don't know, I was reading comments.
I was going to draft.
I was reading comments from
Yeah.
other representatives, not from a town.
I was going to, if you find one, I was going to draft one in opposition to that from us, but I'd be thrilled if there.
If it was done, we will find one.
Thank you.
Thank you for your attention to that.
The town clerk can
Oh, great.
send a notice out to all other clerks in the state and find out.
Look at you. Fantastic.
And then you have a resolution.
Already written.
Already.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question about the budget process here that I think is probably on all of our minds? So it's 9:30 now, and you're going to go through the budget, which I'm very much looking forward to. I have, as you can imagine, a ton of questions. My bet is there are people in the community who have a ton of questions. What is, I'm assuming tonight you want to simply present?
So let me go through the schedule with you really quickly.
Okay.
And also probably make a suggestion in regards to that schedule. And just really quickly, if you remember, when we adopted the new charter, one of the things we did, we added a second public hearing.
Yep.
And when we did that, we kind of collapsed some of the other stuff we we're doing. Scheduled for this evening is the budget presentation, but also including in that is a number of departments. Administration, finance, police, everything, or every capital, high public works, harbors, recreation. The items that aren't included in tonight's discussion include those that are what we call community service, which includes what we call community service support. The health service, the library, the volunteer fire and rescue, Block Island Early Learning Center, Senior Advisory Committee, Block Island School. So those are scheduled for the 22nd.
Yes.
Amy and I had a conversation anticipating that we may be in a little, we didn't think we'd be this late. So we say that. We thought maybe take police and capital and put it to another night. It's up to the council. If you want to spend some time going through some of the smaller departments this evening, we'll be happy to do that. Or if you want to just start with the presentation, we'd be happy to do that. But if we are going to move to another night or add another night, I really would appreciate if we make that decision now tonight.
Yeah, this is just one person's opinion. I think 9:30 is too late to start a budget briefing. If part of the idea of this is not just the five of us, but more importantly, socializing it in the community. I mean, for me, it would be sufficient if you reviewed the memo that precedes your budget, and then we add another date to really start getting into the details of the thing. That's my own opinion. I mean, look, I'm on Hawaii time, so I'm here till 2. You're right, absolutely, yeah.
So I think there's strong agreement, at least I can concur, and I think everybody else is nodding, is that right? To go through your note, and let's, right now, pick another day that's acceptable, and we can do it almost at any time, but I don't think it's fair to any of the departments, I don't think it's fair to the brain trust of anybody here. And then I think what we need to do is really start also understanding, okay, so if we go through the top line today, when we go through the budgets, we are gonna have discussions about, I don't care, fire and rescue or advisory. I mean, each one of them as we go through that as a dialogue. Because I don't think we can do that at 10 o'clock at night and have any real sense.
So would you like to establish a account?
Yes.
And I can suggest a date. And I think we should run with it. The 28th.
So today's, the department meetings go to the 22nd, the 22nd goes to the 28th?
I'm sorry, we'll keep the 22nd the way it is.
Oh.
With all those items, the 28th would, because I don't want to change that date because we've already sent this out to everyone. This schedule's been out for about 6 weeks now, 7 weeks. So the 28th will be the date that we'll do all the other things that we don't get through this evening. And we'll let staff know. Oh, there's HDC by 5 o'clock.
How about 7 o'clock on the 28th? Works for everybody else. Mark?
If it works for everybody else.
Fine with me.
I won't do it tomorrow.
Do it. You want to? You know, I'm having a sidebar with Amy.
So
she also said the 24th is, she can do it also, which is the.
I think sooner is better.
Is the.
I think sooner is better.
Do you want to start earlier
I
that
can't
day?
do the 24th. I can't do the 24th. Sorry.
I think starting earlier.
Yeah.
Is a great idea.
Unless we all operate under the delusion that we started at 7.
We started at 6:30.
Well, I know, but we have started earlier and gotten to 11 and wondered why we were so tired and we started at 5.
Yeah, that's true.
That was before, I think that was before the week.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
It's got off.
But I mean, early, you know.
But as long as, if we set a time, I think we need to set a time block.
So do you want to do like 4 to 6 on the 24th? Oh, you can't do the 24th.
Is there a reason why we wouldn't do early next week? 21, 22?
Wait, we got something on the 22nd.
Flabbergasted at that behavior.
The 23rd is a zoning meeting. The 24th.
Oh, 23rd, sorry.
We talked about zoning is meeting at 6 o'clock. 28th, there's HDC meeting at 5. Do you want to start at 7?
6 o'clock on the 28th, non-delusional.
Okay, Martha is on HDC.
It won't work
No.
out, right? 7 o'clock on the
They're saying
28th.
no, it won't work. Because there's a-
7 o'clock on the 28th it is.
Because we don't spend an extra 15.
So at the 28th? Now you know why I want this done with everyone here.
Jill suggests there's. You want to force, okay.
How about that?
4 to, wait, guys, 4 to 7 on the
4 to 6
28th.
on HDC.
And we have to.
I mean, on
seven.
the, I'm sorry, the 28th. It is late.
From 4 till 6.
Well, it feels like that.
What?
4 to 6 is just not enough.
Do you want to do
4 to 7, maybe?
4 to 7?
I know, that's.
4 to 7.
Emily?
I mean, if we're done early, great, but I don't.
I agree with you. I
Done
mean,
at
I-
6 means you've decided that's what the meeting is.
Yeah, I'm just afraid we'll be at 9.
We-
That's my concern.
No, we will end at 7.
Have to.
We'll go 4 to 7. Or if you want to start at 3 in the afternoon,
4 to 7.
I mean, but we have to have, if the general public wants to come. 4? 4 to 7. All in
Gone.
favor?
Going, gone.
We're going. Okay.
David Lewis.
The 28th.
So, have you decided on what the dates are gonna be? I think everybody in the audience is confused about what departments will be discussed on what days. I know why I'm here tonight, but I see a lot of the other.
Person at the center of the table is confused also, David, so.
It's one of us.
So on this,
Needs to be posted on the bulletin board because a lot of people, or someplace better, because a lot of people probably didn't get that.
so what's going to be discussed on the 22nd, that's staying the way it is. That is not changing. What is the 22nd?
What's the budget time?
4 o'clock.
Marianne, you gave me a date earlier today on the, what's that?
I mean, this conversation, call me tomorrow, please.
Isn't HTC? When's HTC?
I'm not on the.
I can't be having 2 conversations. Don't what,
So we're on the 22nd and the 28th.
Correct.
The 28th is from 4 to 7.
Correct.
22nd is at 6 p.m.
The 22nd is at 7 p.m.
So it's 7.
That's what it's been posted. That's the schedule that went out.
Wow, we can't. Do we have, I'm just wondering.
Do you want to,
Do you want to start it at 6?
we can do that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the HDC.
That's on the 28th.
We've taken care of the HDC.
And I thought that's still being, what are we doing?
We're all set on HDC. Now we're talking about the start time for the March 22nd.
The
It's
March
7 o'clock.
22nd, it's listed and it's been messaged out for a number of weeks, starting at 7 p.m. If you'd like to change that?
No.
No.
Okay, good.
Can you just read, or assuming it's correct, can you just tell everybody in the audience what is going to be on the 22nd? I know what you're going to say it's the same, but just read them. And then what is going to be on the 28th, which is
Block Island Health Services,
22nd.
Library, Volunteer Fire and Rescue, Early Learning Center, Senior Advisory, NAMI Block Island School.
And those are on the 22nd
Those
at
are on the
7 p.m.
22nd, yes.
And then on the 28th from 4 to 7 p.m. will be,
All of the departments that weren't listed, and also capital and the capital plan, the capital improvement plan. Those 2. The other ones that weren't listed, I hesitate to rattle off in case I missed one.
no,
Administration, finance, dispatch, police, highways and maintenance, which we're rebranding as public works, harbors, building official, recreation, library, GIS technology.
No library.
library,
Oh,
GIS,
GIS.
debt service, boards and commission, and that's it.
Does this all make sense to you?
In my head, I have a very different schedule I would like to work on for the budget. And let's get into the budget memo and then I'll add some other conversation that Amy and I have been having.
One more detail administration part. For that meeting on the 22nd, I will ask the clerk's office to post the materials and we'll send to the council the requests that came in from fire rescue, the early learning center, senior advisory, and the school budget documents so that people have access to those. So I'll get those to the
Their
clerks
requests.
and council.
That's really helpful.
My apologies for not doing it earlier.
Bill McCown?
Andre, at some point, I noticed on the budget where I see that department head salaries are always listed and then they were all the wages together. There seems to be a change this year. At some point, will there be an explanation as to why that is?
Yes.
That's one of my
Thank you.
questions.
Ready?
Like, you.
Yeah, I think we'll go through, let me know how far you folks want to go. So I'm pleased to present to the town council the 2023 town manager's proposed operating and capital budget. As we wrap up fiscal 2022, our second year of COVID, I was hopeful that this year would start back to normal. Chapter with fully staffed, staff fully in person, in office and services. Unfortunately, we continue to live with COVID. The fiscal year 23 continues to implement the positive changes to government and the infrastructure the town of New Shore began implemented in fiscal 2022. In fiscal 2022, the town implemented cloud-based backup. In mid-April, the town council chambers will be outfitted with state-of-the-art audio-visual equipment, offering all greater access to town government. Many new department directors have been hired, and the town organization chart is finally taking some form, and accountability can be tracked. The proposed fiscal 23 budget continues with this plan. New department directors have embraced their new roles and have been instrumental in developing the budget. For many years, the town has discussed how best to provide public safety for our year-round citizens of the island and the tens of thousands of visitors, seasonal visitors, in a comprehensive plan. Chief Monahan and members of the police department have been working on this strategic plan, including juggling staffing challenges, technology, equipment needs, and some of which are unique to the island with large fluctuation. Fiscal 2023 will begin to implement this plan. This budget will begin a transformation process in planning and managing the island in the future. We will continue to meet the current infrastructure needs of the island while providing long overdue initiatives in areas of public safety, education, infrastructure repairs, scheduled maintenance, and support of our medical center. As with all budgets, we could not include a number of budget requests increased in the proposed fiscal 2023 budget. Even though we cannot fully fund the request, I maintain this budget will continue to provide needed services while making critical investments to allow us to plan for long term. Areas that were not funded this year include a human service director, young adult library director, human resource director, maintenance workers, and increased hours for the administrative assistant for the zoning official. Although these requests are not included in the proposed budget, they will be revisited in fiscal 2024 budget process. Deferring these requests was not an easy decision. In conclusion, the proposed operating capital budget is $17,095,431 and a 3.2% increase from last year. The proposed increase is 6.2. As a reminder, under Rhode Island general laws, the town can only increase the tax levy by 4%. Anything above 4% requires an approval from the state, including approval by the affirmative vote by at least 4/5 of the town council and the majority of electors present at the financial town meeting. I would like to thank all department heads for their efforts in working together as a management team to present the budget that will continue to provide a level of service the town requires given its continued growth. This year's budget presentation is somewhat different than what you have seen in recent years. Hopefully, you will find the new presentation of the budget easier to follow and read, and I thank Amy Land for her work with the new outline. I look forward to discussing the fiscal 23 budget with the town council and our residents as we plan to move the town forward and planning and meeting our obligations. Do you want to continue with the narrative at this point? Amy, do you want to continue with the narrative that we've put together?
It jumps pretty quickly into the details.
Yeah.
Which it sounds like people want to hold off until brains are fresher. So I guess I wouldn't go really into the narrative, except to say at a very high level, as Mary Ann mentioned, you're looking at about a 3.2% increase in the total operating budget. And that's going to require a proposed tax levy increase of 6.1%. As a reminder, that is in excess of the 4.0 levy cap. That's entirely driven by a net increase in debt service. We had a number of bonds maturing. Oh, sorry.
I'll take this. I'm just gonna take it with me. So we had a number of bonds that matured in 2022. That includes the acquisition of the Hodge property, as well as improvements from the school, the library, some portions of the town hall improvements. And so as that debt came off the books in 2023, we're bringing on additional debt that's related to acquisition of the Overlook, acquisition of a fire truck at 1.3 million, and then $2 million related to road and bridge improvements or road improvements that were done last summer. So our net debt service increase is about 273,000. That's the differential between the 4.0 and the 6.1 that we're looking for today. Every year we get a question about, can't we go higher? We cannot. There are only certain exceptions that allow you to exceed that cap. Debt service is one of them. We don't have other qualifying events that would allow us, if one wanted to raise that tax rate any higher than the 6.1%.
With the capital, the increase in the net debt service,
That is an allowable exception. It does require not just approval at the state level, but a supermajority of the town council and an affirmative vote by the voters at financial town meeting. So all those three things would be required in order for that excess tax levy to be applied. So in addition to that debt service driver, sort of the two other areas that are shaping the majority of this budget would be support for the Block Island School. Right now, the recommended increase is about 100,000. That's still 100,000 short of what they were looking for. So I'm sure we'll spend a fair amount of time discussing the school budget. And then finally, support of operation and staffing initiatives at the New Shore Police Department. Again, an area that we've talked about at length over the last few years, and I'm sure we'll spend some time talking about the police department when we get there. But I don't have too much else to add in terms of high level, unless.
Largest gross dollar increases, just to say.
It's those three. I talk dollars, not percentages. Yeah.
I've red flagged 3 items that have been compromised, eliminated, or are non-existent in the budget. And the first one is composting. We've talked about it for years and years and years, and I thought we had made a commitment to including monies in there to start a composting program on Block Island. What that number is, I don't know. But we can't keep kicking that can down the road.
And we'll get to that a little bit more when we get to the capital improvement program, but there was contemplated to be consideration of composting when we undertook a transfer station facility study. So that's slated right now, the study for 2024, which would evaluate programs including composting to be implemented 2025 and forward once the study came back. We can, that's where we would talk about it more in the capital improvement plan discussion.
Okay. That's where that would take place if indeed we were to add X amount of dollars. Okay. A second item that is red flag for me is the zoning official money. It seems like that has declined. And I foresee a lot of possible litigation in that department with so many zoning infractions on the island that we want to address this upcoming year. So that would be a concern for me to not have more in that budget as opposed to less. And the last thing is the total legal line item. If we all know that we are probably going to be getting into litigation with the moped industry, I would like to make sure we have the monies available to pursue that.
So those two items that you brought up, a litigation is in the legal line item on the budget. It wouldn't be in the zoning. The legal line item is under administration. It's on page 8 of 22. If you look at it, it's litigation. And that line item is budgeted at $200,000.
Wait, hold up. Let me get that again, the page.
It's 8 of 22. It's in the spreadsheet, Ma.
So you're saying that those two items I brought up are.
Well, you mentioned
together?
litigation, so that's legal budget.
I guess to condense it again down, I'm just concerned we're not going to have the monies available to pursue the litigation we might need to remedy these problems I addressed.
So when we, again, as Amy just said, with the facilities, when we start talking about the legal budget, you can have that discussion.
Well, those are my concerns.
We know they have a debt service calendar and they're really.
Schedule.
Yeah, Martha, there is a chart. It's pretty simple, but on page 11, the last page of the narrative, you've got you got to go all the way to the end.
The bar chart.
And that, as you get there, that is current. Again, we just issued that $8.4 million last week, but it's been updated to reflect that. That was a 10-year note. So you can see the drop off 2032.
Yeah, I wondered that was a big chunk.
So-
for 1 year. 10 years.
Yeah, if for anyone who's not looking at it, our next major drop offs would be from 2025 to 2026. We have a reduction in debt service, another step down 2030, and then 2032, we're essentially down to zero. So we're working with very short maturities. We've moved away from 20-year notes to 10-year notes, just try to accelerate that debt service schedule.
And to get better rates too, right?
Sometimes, but I will say that we priced that 8.4 million at 2.4%, which is the lowest long-term rate this town's ever seen.
Without repeating it, I think we're probably at that burning stage. I thought the both cover note and this was very, very helpful framing it up, and I look forward to going through all the detail pages starting on the 22nd. And I think just to make sure we're very clear, as we go through the departments, I'm assuming we're going to go through each page had opportunities, you're gonna send out the original request. In this document, for those who haven't seen it, I like the layout because it sort of says, hey, here's the request, you know, dollars, here's what was recommended dollars, and they're in there. So you can see that plus minus pretty quickly. I like that. Thank you. Alrighty.
Bill McComb.
At some point, would it be prudent for the council to ask that if we were to stay at that 4.5, whatever it's supposed to be, or it didn't pass by the supermajority, what items would have to be cut in order to make that, so that this way here, the public understands the cause and effect.
Thanks, Bill.
EMA sounds like the first one.
Does anybody else have anything right now?
I don't.
Public? Nothing?
22nd.
I mean, we have lots of things.
Yeah, I know.
Stuff it out. You didn't know that, I Scott had the t-shirt. Still sitting here.
Hey, no, that's not fair.
No, it is.
Very unexpected, but what are you gonna do?
I make a motion
Go ahead.
to have a good night.
Well, we can still approve,
No.
we can still approve minutes.
I said, it's on the agenda.
Okay. Do the minutes, or we can do the minutes if you want. I'm good with it.
That's what we did for you.
Good. I make a motion to end the meeting.
Second.
Mark?
Aye.
I'm in favor.
Aye.
I don't think we need to,
Unanimous vote. Thank you guys for coming. Sorry for the frustrations. And see you all on the 22nd or the 28th.